Chapter 927, Black Flame Dragon Soul. Is this person very strong? Due to the comparison with unbeatable childhood friends or the twin witches, and even having connections with Hydera the water god, Shea Longness the sky sword, and Cassina the battle god, Yunshi is not very confident in his own abilities. Compared to the legendary rank Hydera the water god and Cassina the battle god, he is naturally far inferior. Hua Hua, the twin witches, is not an opponent for her. As a fighter, she hasn't advanced to the hero ranked yet. However, she somehow understood that the Prince of the Great Shia is probably not her match. It's a kind of intuition, developed through being killed hundreds of times in the trial world, whether she can crush her opponents or not. In the brutal trial world, she either gets beaten to near death or has to complete almost impossible tasks to increase her combat power and challenge the strongest enemy in the end. After going through such cruel trials, facing normal enemies feels strange to her. Is the Prince of the Great Shia, the holder of the god weapon, very strong? He must be strong, but she can't help but feel that he's not much compared to Hua Hua. He didn't feel the same extraordinary feeling that Hua Hua and the twin witches gave him, probably not even close to what the Queen of Assyria from the ancient dragon world could make him feel. So, there was no need to be afraid. If he couldn't torture himself, then he could be defeated just like a green hippo. Soon you will know the true meaning of absolute power, Xie Jie said, waving his finger to make his invincible black cavalry retreat. He didn't need to rely on the power of those forbidden weapons, he could crush this effeminate figure from the ghost sword domain himself. That delicate appearance was just not human-like, and it didn't look comfortable at all. A man must be strong, just like him, even if he was called a tyrant, he didn't care at all. Watch this, my black flame. The surface of the black flame dragon armor suddenly burst with countless black flames, and a black double-handed sword appeared in Xie Jie's hands. Let my righteous dark sword pass judgment on you. The black flames burned fiercely, wrapping around the black sword and releasing a terrifying pressure. Is it a special kind of powerful weapon? Maybe it doubled the strength. Based on his instincts, Yunshi knew Xie Jie, the Prince of the Great Shia, was a formidable fighter. However, this increase was still within the realm of normal. It couldn't hold a candle to Hua Hua's tyrannical Emperor Dragon Sword, which even a single glance at would send shivers down one's spine. The flames that wrapped around the black sword were probably not as powerful as the flames ignited by the king of the original dragon world. It's been a while since I went all out. Let me enjoy myself a bit more, you sissy. Xie Jie pulled out the dark sword with a smirk on his face, as if he were toying with ants like a child would. How could a mere swordsman from the ghost sword domain compare to him, the heir of the Great Shia dynasty? Although the ghost sword domain had once given birth to a sky sword, its overall strength was incomparable to that of the Great Shia. The Great Shia, which surpasses the Great Han, the Great Tang, and the Great Ju, is the strongest sword domain in the sky sword god's domain, the highest point among the 4 top sword domains, a legendary place. As the designated successor of the Great Shia, he is the pride of the Great Shia dynasty, the owner of the Black Flame Dragon armor, and will undoubtedly become the emperor of the Great Shia. The Ghost Sword domain is just a middle-ranked sword domain, and its heritage cannot be compared to that of the Great Shia sword domain. The Black Flame Dragon armor is one of the god weapons that is connected to the dragon energy of the Great Shia dynasty, and with the protection of the Great Shia dragon veins, he has absolute suppression power over all god weapon holders in the Ghost Sword domain. Unfortunately, Yunshi's missed Ghost Sword looks like a god weapon from the Ghost Sword domain, but in reality, it has no connection to the Ghost Sword domain whatsoever. Because it is a non-existent fake god weapon, it naturally does not suffer from the inherent rank suppression of the Great Shia god weapons. So Xie Jie thought that by using the powerful Black Flame Dragon armor, he could intimidate Yunshi, but he was just overthinking it. The water god once fought against Shea Longness the sky sword in their world. In the world of the primordial dragons, there was a fierce battle between the original green dragon and the protagonist. Just a god weapon in the hands of Yunshi was not enough to compare to the pressure he felt from his childhood friend. Yunshi, who was used to facing challenges, found the power to be nothing more than a light rain. The Mist Ghost Sword created graceful trails as it summoned the enchanting figure of the Mist Spirit Girl, catching Xie Ling's attention. She had witnessed the power of the 100 Ghost Sword before, but Yunxi's sword had a completely different style. Were those beautiful and captivating ghost shadows actually a branch of the legendary 100 Ghost Sword? Actually, they weren't. Such evil power cannot compare to the righteousness of my black flame. Xie Jie proudly raised his dark sword and unleashed a dark flame sword energy. The mark left by the mist ghost sword flashed and disappeared. Yunxi, with light and nimble steps, swiftly bypassed the oppressing black flame sword energy of Xie Jie and instantly rushed in front of him. The footwork of the flying swallow sword earth shrinkage, when evolved to the perfect realm, can transform into the sky-soaring steps of the sky-flying sword. The footsteps that once soared in the sky, even if only a partial and incomplete part, made Yunxi's movements untraceable. It was a footwork that caused Xie Ling's pupils to suddenly shrink. She had a deep impression of this footwork. The figure that defeated her in the Sword Palace ranking battle also possessed such footwork. She couldn't even predict where her next step would land. It was as if it defied the human physiological structure, making the earth shrink. Black Flame Dragon, reveal yourself. Xie Jie, sensing an imminent crisis, roared and unleashed one of the skills of the Black Flame Dragon armor. The great Xie was wrapped in a dark dragon shadow. He clashed with Yunxi's mist ghost sword head-on. In a flash, Yunxi moved behind the great Xie. The dark dragon shadow quickly turned its head and opened its large mouth, spewing corrosive black dragon flames. The ground instantly melted. Compared to the great Xie's reaction, the dark dragon shadow was clearly faster and sharper. This was the special characteristic of the Black Flame Dragon armor, a god weapon belonging to the Emperor. Originally, this god weapon was crafted from the remains of a slain black dragon by the Great Xie dynasty's unparalleled expert. After being immersed in the Great Xie's dragon energy for hundreds of years, it even gave birth to a trace of dragon soul. Now is the time for the dragon soul. Xie Jie, who summoned the dark dragon shadow, took a deep breath, getting used to this world where time had slowed down. Chapter 928. The dancing sword. The power of the dragon soul was a completely inhuman power. This power is a special ability that comes from combining the soul of a black dragon, who was killed by the ancestors of the Great Xie, with the energy of the Great Xie dragon vein for hundreds of years. In theory, as long as the Great Xie dragon vein continues, the dragon soul power in the Black Flame Dragon armor is limitless. By harnessing the power of the dragon soul, one can enter a special state called the dragon soul moment and instantly boost their body's reaction speed and strength by 10 times. However, it is very challenging for a human to fully utilize the power of the Black Flame Dragon soul, as it puts a lot of strain on their physical body. Unless their own power matches that of the black dragon, it is impossible to use it for a long time. Xie Jie only activates the dragon soul power in the Black Flame Dragon armor when facing a real strong enemy, and the duration is usually limited to 5 minutes. It's not that he doesn't want to use the dragon soul power for a longer time, but with his hero-ranked body, 5 minutes is the absolute limit for the dragon soul moment. Quick and decisive. The colors of the world began to look dull in Xie Jie's eyes. There were only 3 simple colors: black, white, and the red of the enemies. This wasn't the view of a human, but the view of the Black Flame Dragon soul. Stripping away all unnecessary things, focusing only on destruction and hunting down opponents in a black and white realm. I see you. Xie Jie shouted as Yunxi appeared behind him with unpredictable speed. Xie Jie swiftly turned around and locked onto Yunxi's position, launching a powerful downward strike. He became much faster. Yunxi swung the mist ghost sword and took a step forward. With a flicker of black sword light blazing with fierce flames, Xie Jie cleanly tore apart his intended target, turning it into a black pillar of fire. Something feels wrong in the touch. Xie Jie immediately sensed that it didn't feel like cutting through flesh and blood. The one ignited was just an illusion formed by condensed mist. Like a dream or an illusion, the reflection in the mirror is just like the hazy image of flowers and moon on water. This is one of the abilities of the Mist Ghost Sword, summoning an immortal mist spirit girl to take the place of Yunxi, the man. As for Yunxi, his figure disappeared in the misty air. Where did he go? This time, even Xie Ling couldn't see Yunxi's position, which made her more convinced that Yunxi's god weapon is one of the 100 ghosts. Up there. Xie Jie's reaction speed, increased tenfold, allowed him to hear the faint sound of air being torn apart. Like the graceful flight of a swallow. The incredible skill of the flying swallow sword, the aerial six swallows return, was something Yunxi had always envied, thinking that he would never be able to use it in his lifetime. Xie Jie roared, swinging his pair of dark swords like burning windmills, using the most reckless means to directly clash with the nimble sword light. 1 sword, 2 swords, 3 swords, 4 swords, 5 swords, 6 swords. Xie Jie, who appeared tall and strong, should have been more powerful. He used a large dark sword in both hands, which was heavier than Yunxi's mist ghost sword. However, he was the one who got pushed back. 6 swallows return hit exactly the same spot on the dark sword. It showcased Xie Ling's incredible sword skills, which fascinated her with its perfect control over the body. After performing 6 consecutive aerial strikes, Yunxi gracefully landed on the ground. Another mist spirit girl appeared, taking his place. Using the same move won't work a second time. Xie Jie, who was taught a lesson by Yunxi's aerial strikes, leaped into action. The dark sword spun, emitting a sharp and piercing sound. Behold my righteous impact. Like a comet crashing into the ground, Xie Jie descended from a height of tens of meters, unleashing a powerful and overwhelming strike that affected a wide area. Even Xie Ling couldn't help but nod in approval, applauding her arrogant older brother's attack. Yunxi, now known as the Mist Spirit, suddenly gained incredible power. This was partly due to the dragon soul within the black flame dragon armor, but it was also a natural gift to be able to harness such power. Boom! The ground where the dark sword struck exploded, sending out a shockwave of black flames in the shape of a circular ring. As the black flames touched the ground, it instantly burned and crystallized, leaving behind traces of the released dragon soul power. The mist spirit girl, who had been standing where Yunxi landed, evaporated again, just as Xie Jie finally spotted Yunxi's new location. It was far beyond his expectations. Not only was Yunxi out of his reach, but he was even at a distance where Xie Jie could only see him from the corner of his eye. Maybe around 200 meters away? When did he move to that spot? His speed was simply unbelievable. It's time to end this. Mist floated from Yunxi's sword blade. He slowly bent down and took a step forward with his left foot. In an instant, he crossed a distance of 100 meters, not paying any attention to the black flames burning on the ground. Thump! Xie Jie's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, as if warning him of the lethal nature of the upcoming strike. It was an attack that even he, in his dragon soul moment, couldn't react to. It was like a declaration of death from the underworld, an unstoppable and unavoidable sword light. Swoosh! Before the dark great sword could even defend itself, the mist ghost sword pierced through Xie Jie's body, skillfully avoiding vital organs such as the heart. It pinned Xie Jie's body to the ground. After all, he couldn't kill him. At least not this prince of the great Xie. Yunxi showed mercy. If this were a real battlefield, Xie Jie would have met his end with that strike, beyond any possibility of survival. After countless trials of life and death, Yunxi's swordsmanship has been honed to near perfection, even mastering the techniques of divine swords. Defeating Xie Jie, who solely relies on the power of the god weapon, was too easy for him. During his confrontation with Xie Jie, Yunxi had already noticed that the prince of the great Xie had very little experience in life or death battles, perhaps never encountering an opponent stronger than himself. In contrast, starting from his first trial against the green-hide hippo, Yunxi has faced numerous monsters that nearly defeated him, gaining countless times more practical experience than Xie Jie. In just 2 encounters, Yunxi has already discovered Xie Jie's greatest weakness. He simply cannot control the power of the god weapon, similar to Yunxi when using the Star Wings. However, the power of the Star Wings far surpasses that of the Black Flame Dragon armor by an immeasurable level. Yunxi found his opponent very easy to understand. With just a simple taunt, his opponent revealed a major weakness and launched a wide-range attack. Then, with precision, Yunxi made a deadly strike, declaring his victory. Be careful. At that moment, Xie Ling gave a warning. Yunxi felt his grip on the mist ghost sword tremble, as if it were being forced out of Xie Jie's body. Arg! Xie Jie's body shook violently, emitting an inexplicable roar of anger. His strong and tall body convulsed relentlessly, his once furious eyes now turning completely frenzied. The power of the dragon soul is about to lose control. Xia Ling couldn't believe what she was seeing as she watched the defeated Xia Jie. Now, Xia Jie had entered a mode called Tyrant, which was both feared and a terrifying talent. If Xia Jie only relied on the power of the dragon soul, he wouldn't even rank in the top 3 among the inheritors of the Black Flame Dragon armor throughout history. However, the reason he was recognized as the Prince of the Great Xia was because he had a natural and extraordinary talent. When Xia Jie is in a rational state, he can probably unleash only 1/10 of the power of the Black Flame Dragon armor. But when Xia Jie loses his rationality, he becomes like a berserker from the Western God's domain, surpassing the limits of his own flesh and blood, triggering the true power of the Great Xia's dragon vein. No one knows how this talent came to be, but Xia Jie is the only confirmed prince of the Great Xia who possesses this tyrant talent. Unlike those berserkers from the Western God's domain, Xia Jie, when entering the tyrant mode, doesn't lose his rationality, but becomes extremely cruel, almost losing his humanity. "You have angered me, foolish humans." Xia Jie's eyes took on an inhuman vertical shape, evidence of his fusion with the dragon soul reaching its height. In this state, Xia Jie was like a rampaging black dragon, exuding a deadly sense of oppression. So the Great Xia truly possessed extraordinary abilities, as seen from the power of this god weapon. Yunshi finally felt a hint of threat from his opponent. As Xia Jie entered his tyrant mode, his explosive power, reflexes, and ability to control the dark flame dragon soul all greatly increased. The last point was crucial. Hiss. The black flames coiling around the dark giant sword started to intensify and strengthen. At this moment, Xia Jie's entire body was encased in black dragon flames, and the deep black armor emanated an irresistible aura. The dark sword, now absorbing immense black flames, became even heavier, and the patterns on the blade underwent a tremendous change. From Yunshi's experience in the Trial of the Stars, if we were to consider the initial Dark Greatsword as the original weapon, then the current Dark Greatsword has been strengthened to at least a +8. Do not let him hit you, or you will die. Xia Ling warns Yunshi. Each strike from Xia Jie in this state comes with the burning of dragon flames, which almost ignores the opponent's defense. In the Tyrant mode, Xia Jie possesses overwhelmingly powerful attacks, which is why he is recognized as the Great Xia Prince's trump card. However, in this mode, Xia Jie is almost unrecognizable, cruel to the extreme, like an uncontrollable blade. On the battlefield, once he enters this mode, even the black cavalry guards, who serve as his personal guards, are not allowed to stay by Xia Jie's side. They can only watch as he madly slaughters his opponents. Xia Jie's reputation as a tyrant has spread throughout the Great Xia army because of this. For an army that values strength, they not only do not reject Xia Jie but also support this cruel and strong prince. His talent in swordsmanship is actually not as good as Xia Ling's, but once he goes berserk, his combat power is immeasurable. Yunshi nodded, realizing that Xia Jie's attack at this moment had caused him great harm. Ha ha ha. Xia Jie raised the dark giant sword in his hand and let out a laugh that was not human-like. Accept your punishment, foolish humans. Yunshi observed the dark giant sword and was certain that his opponent had been enhanced to the maximum value, probably by tenfold. No wonder Xia Jie is so confident now. This is a turning point. The dark giant sword at this moment is covered in never-ending black flames. Even if touched by a trace of it, it would probably be burned to ashes. Now is the time for killing. Xia Jie, who had entered the tyrant mode, didn't have anything in this world that could affect him except for his sister. In this mode, he finally gained the ability to control the black dragon's flames. Eat my black dragon wave. He raised his left hand high, and countless black flames roared out of Xia Jie's body, forming a menacing dragon shadow as they flew towards Yunshi. Turn to ashes. This was Xia Jie's command, his judgment on Yunshi. Yunshi shook his head, realizing that he would have to use even more power. The flying swallow sword didn't seem to be enough. So, he decided to use a higher-level sword technique, one that came from heavenly demon Elise's memories. Even in the face of mythological creatures like Cerberus, he could wield this sword technique with ease. This sword technique may not have reached the level of divine sword skills, but it was definitely one of the strongest below divine sword skills. The Princess Elise, also known as the Killing Princess, is skilled in using the dancing sword. It moves gracefully like a dance, with spinning steps on the battlefield. Elegant and magnificent, Elise always appears effortless, symbolizing the never-ending dance of a beautiful princess. Tap. The mist ghost sword rises, and Yunshi's figure turns into a fleeting phantom as he enters the battlefield filled with black flames. The black dragon shadow sweeps across the land but cannot stop the beautiful dance steps. Using only 3 dance moves, Yunshi crosses the area covered by the dragon shadow and appears before the undefeated Xia Jie. The dancing sword from the Killing Princess once again shines in this world. With his black ponytail flying, Yunshi's mist ghost sword spins forward to the melody of a waltz, striking Xia Jie's black flame dragon armor once more. In his rage, Xia Jie lifts his dark sword, which is 10 times more powerful. He launches a furious counterattack against Yunshi. However, his dark sword, which is capable of delivering a deadly blow, cannot even capture Yunshi's shadow. Yunshi, who was dancing the waltz, easily avoided all of Xia Jie's attacks as if guiding a dance partner, rendering Xia Jie's violent strength useless. It was a princess-like dance on the edge of a blade. It was a perfect sword technique that dazzled Xia Ling Yun. She could see every movement and sword trajectory of Xia Jie clearly. The dancing sword was an incredible sword technique that displayed graceful princess-like dance moves even on the bloodiest of battlefields. The mist spirits called forth by the mist ghost sword danced gracefully with Yunshi. After 3 minutes, Xia Jie fell to the ground, his dark great sword impaled before him, a symbol of the end of a hero. Chapter 929, Yun Q and Yun Hai. The power of the dragon soul was immense, and even the prince of the great Xia in his tyrannical state posed a threat to Yunshi. On the other hand, using this power with a hero-ranked body came with a great cost. The principle of equivalent exchange is true most of the time. In this showdown, even before the dragon soul moment reached its 5-minute limit, Xia Jie collapsed due to his body being worn out. He had seizures and foamed at the mouth. I refuse. I can still fight. While twitching, Xia Jie kept staring at Yunshi, who was slowly putting away his mist ghost sword. He had an unwavering determination. The black cavalry soldiers next to them effortlessly lifted their prince, coordinating with each other silently, and left the arena. Don't. I can still fight. I can take on 10 of them with this kind of sissy attitude. Despite Xia Jie's protests, the black cavalry soldiers still carried him away. There's something off about these people. Yunshi finally released his grip on the mist ghost sword and sheathed it behind his back, only after all the black cavalry soldiers had retreated. From the beginning to the end, even when Xia Jie entered the mode of a tyrant, Yunshi never truly used all his power. The reason for this lies in these silent and reserved black knights. The intangible pressure they give to Yunshi is stronger than that of the great Xia prince, who wears the black flame dragon armor. Compared to Xia Jie, who becomes furious because of his sister, these silent knights make Yunshi even more vigilant. Perhaps their equipment is not as good as Xia Jie's god weapon set, but their aura, as if they have emerged from a battlefield full of death, far surpasses Xia Jie, who relies on the power of the god weapon. Congratulations. You have defeated my brother. Xia Ling curiously looked at the incomparably beautiful young man before her, who seemed almost inhuman. With an appearance that transcends gender, a chilly and distant demeanor that keeps people at a distance, and the indifferent gaze unique to the ghost sword domain. How could such an extraordinary sword genius be unknown to the world? And, she was almost certain that the sword was definitely one of the parts of the legendary Sky Sword, also known as the 100 Ghost Sword. The swordsman who possessed the 100 Ghost Sword in the Ghost Sword domain had a status equivalent to the true heir of the Sky Sword and one of the future successors of the Ghost Sword domain. It was incredibly unbelievable that she had never heard of such a person in the past. In that case, you are qualified. In order to avoid giving herself away, Yunshi could only pretend to be as cold as ice. Being from the Ghost Sword domain background turned out to be advantageous at this moment. Yes, welcome to the team of the Great Xia Sword domain. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Xia Ling was 200% satisfied with Yunshi right in front of her. Genius, it was something only geniuses could understand. From Yunxi's eyes, she saw a shadow that resembled herself. Besides the sword, nothing else mattered. In pursuit of the ultimate way of the sword, he was willing to sacrifice everything. It was only with such obsession that one could surpass the boundaries between heroes and legends and open the door to the ultimate power. Throughout history, all those strong at the legend rank were, to some extent, peculiar. Since you have also heard the call of the White Lotus secret treasure, let's try together and see who will ultimately be favored by the White Lotus secret treasure. Tell me, what is your name? After a moment of silence, Yunxi finally chose a name that would deeply resonate with him. That lonely figure, perhaps they would never meet again. My name is Yun Q. Meanwhile, at the camp of Ghost Sword Domain, a red cloak fluttered in the wind, carrying a hint of holiness and the scent of death. Across from him stood Zi Yuan, the future heir of Ghost Sword Domain. She had another name at the White Lotus Sword Palace, Yin Su, one of the top 3 skilled heroes and the holder of the 100 Ghost Sword. Very few people knew that Yin Su was not a human, but a clone of Zi Yuan, one of several similar clones. These clones were created as a result of the special abilities granted to the holder of the 100 Ghost Sword. In exchange, they transformed completely into spirits, devoid of any human vulnerabilities and the limitations of a human body. The Ghost Sword Domain, a forbidden technique of the Ghost Sword Domain, can only be mastered by those who possess the 100 Ghost Sword. To summon shadowy spirits, one must also transform into a spirit themselves. This is the forbidden power inherited by the previous holders of the 100 Ghost Sword throughout history. At the White Lotus Sword Palace, Yin Su, who competed with the princess of the Great Xia, Ling, was just one of Zi Yuan's 4 spirit clones. And now, in the White Lotus Sword Domain, the one participating in the competition for the White Lotus secret treasure is the true form of the current leader of the 100 Ghost Sword, who has gathered all of their clones. She simply sat there quietly, naturally emanating a cold aura that made the surrounding life wither. The gaze she fixed upon the red-clothed archer was calm and undisturbed. It seemed as though nothing in the world could stir any emotion within her. Where she stood, a large amount of ghostly energy spread out, keeping humans away. I will join your team, said the red-clothed archer, their bloody aura growing stronger after experiencing the life-and-death trials of the blood essence. Their determination in their eyes became even more steadfast, a belief that they would never give up no matter the setbacks, even if it meant paying any price to achieve their goal. The 10-Leaf Alliance. Why have they chosen me, murmured Zi Yuan, as she lightly twisted her hair around her fingertips, catching the scent of death emitted by the assassin before her, a scent surpassing that of over 100,000 people. How much killing took place for there to be such bloodshed? How many battlefields were crossed to forge such a steel will, shining like glass? Because you are the strongest, my partner, he chose this camp for a very simple reason. Among all the seekers of the White Lotus secret treasure, a girl named Zi Yuan hides the most terrifying power, the ability closest to victory. Once that hidden card is revealed, the entire White Lotus Sword Domain will likely be turned upside down. If he hadn't pushed himself to the limit in the previous trial, combined with his innate talent as a dark fairy, he probably would not have discovered the truth. It's possible as long as you're not afraid of death, Zi Yuan chuckled lightly. Such an interesting fairy, he had never encountered one like her before. Even though she was covered in bloody clothes, wearing wrappings that reeked of corpses, did she really think she could hide from the ghosts of the underworld? Tell me, what is your name? The archer in the red clothes frowned and finally said a name. Yun Hai. Chapter 930, The Three Sisters Zaka White Lotus Sword Domain, the boundary of the mortal area. A deep red dragon was staring fiercely at a tall wall not far away, with a body about 10 meters long, releasing terrifying high temperatures. The human soldiers on the tall wall trembled with fear when they saw the red dragon looming outside, not even daring to show their heads over the edge of the wall. Even though the wall was 50 meters high, it still couldn't give these elite human soldiers a sense of safety in front of the flying dragon. Now, there are still several large holes left on the wall that were sprayed out by the dragon's breath, vaguely revealing unknown objects resembling debris. Roar. Red Dragon Zaka, still in the juvenile stage, bit her own tail and felt uncomfortable all over. Why, after waking up from a nap, the happy days of being together with the prince and playing around all day long are gone forever. Luckily, the great original mother dragon is still here. Even though she appears as a human and restrains her own powers, she still has the power to break all the rules. Now, Desert Dragon Zaka, Ice Dragon Zaka, and Red Dragon Zaka are all born. The time for the Zaka sisters to reunite with Zaka is not far away. What White Lotus secret treasure, what chosen trial, as long as the Zaka sisters gather together, it will be a piece of cake. Compared to that White Lotus secret treasure, obviously the missing Yun Shi, who is the prince and eternal lover of the Zaka sisters, is more important. Hiss. Red Dragon Zaka, who is in a bad mood, starts to inhale and spreads her wings to fly into the sky. Here they come! Here they come! Red alert! Red alert! All troops, pay attention, do not counterattack, I repeat, do not counterattack. The commander of the army shouted desperately from the 50-meter-high city wall, filled with fear and trembling, but they had no choice but to face it head-on. There was no other option. Defending the city wall was their duty, even if the opponent was a giant dragon. Ha! The Red Dragon Zaka, who deliberately used the strongest structure of the White Lotus Sword domain to train its breath attack, didn't care about the humans at all. It directly unleashed a breath attack on the center of the 50-meter-high city wall. The city wall, designed to withstand multiple layers of spells and imagined targets of dangerous creatures ranked 5th and 6th, was left with a visible gap after the explosion. The protective layer formed by extracting the Earth's energy melted like snow, encountering scorching sun under the breath attack of Red Dragon Zaka. The sturdy wall made of granite couldn't withstand the terrifying heat, turning into ashes in large quantities until some massive remains hidden deep within the wall were exposed. Red Dragon Zaka shook her head, feeling greatly dissatisfied with the weakening of her fighting power. In her prime, just one breath of hers could turn this wall and the towns behind it into a lake of lava. As a great ancient dragon, born from a dream, she should have the power to cause such destruction. If she could unite with her prince again and unleash the sacred crimson light of the dragon roar wave, it might be possible to destroy this White Lotus Sword domain. But now, this young form of hers is too weak and helpless. When will she be able to restore her true form as the Red Dragon Princess? These walls should be knocked down quickly, just like she wants to. Cough. Are you used to this world here? Another blue dragon, whose body was similar to Red Dragon Zaka's, descended from the sky and patted Red Dragon Zaka's wings. I'm not used to this at all, it's such an unrealistic world. Red Dragon Zaka purred in her sister's arms, enjoying the attention. I can't even use 1% of my power. If I were in my true form, I could blow this wall away with one breath. Ice Dragon Zaka nuzzled Red Dragon Zaka's head, remembering how she had doubted if this world was real when she first opened her eyes. Just recently, the four sisters had chosen to betray the great and ancient original dragons and fight against their own mother, who was about to marry them off to a prince as his princesses. But now, everything had changed when they woke up. Their mother, the original dragon, had brought them to this new world, many years after the one they were born in. If it wasn't for their mother and their lovers still being here, she would have thought it was all just a dream. Their bodies had regressed to a juvenile state, whether in dragon form or human form. The whole world seemed to expand 1,000,000 times in an instant. How long did they sleep for? Luckily, Prince or the great original mother dragon's little she was still there. As long as things are like this, time doesn't really matter to the great dragon. After getting used to this world, they found that it was actually quite nice. The original mother dragon clearly broke free from that small world and brought them four sisters to this larger, more incredible new world. At the end of the horizon, a fierce sandstorm began to blow, and Desert Dragon Zaka emerged from the desert, with a content expression on her face. Behind her, there was a large group of silly desert scorpions, more than 10 times the number in the original dragon world. Not bad at all. There are so many subordinates in this world. Compared to her two sisters who focused on their own strength, Desert Dragon Zaka had exceptional leadership skills within the Legion. In just about 3 days, she assembled a desert monster army that was strong enough to make the ordinary world of White Lotus Sword domain despair. Originally the weakest among the 3 Zakas, Desert Dragon Zaka now became the strongest among them. Is the mother still exploring that unknown area? Red Dragon Zaka curiously asked Desert Dragon Zaka, who had summoned the desert army. After giving birth to all three Zakas, Hua, who had expended a lot of her energy, hurriedly entered a forbidden area in the Sword Domain and still hasn't returned. Soon, it would be time for the White Lotus secret treasure to open. The three Zakas have been practicing their skills against this wall and have improved quite a bit. Even though she couldn't fully unleash her true power as the original dragon deity due to her physical limitations, Red Dragon Zaka effortlessly annihilated those so-called human heroes. Even a breath with only 1% of its power is still genuine dragon fire. Red Dragon Zaka had already perfected her breathing rhythm using the White Lotus Sword Domain's walls, and her skill level was almost maxed out. She should be coming back soon, and we need to set off too. Desert Dragon Zaka proudly lifted her head. The three sisters are about to go into battle once again. Chapter 931. Prophecy. In the various camps of the major powers, talented individuals from all over the endless gods' domains have gathered here. From the news of the appearance of the White Lotus secret treasure to the long-awaited day when the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure finally opens, the small White Lotus Sword Domain has become a gathering place for excitement and anticipation. It was their actions that turned the properties in the White Lotus Sword Domain into sky-high prices. It was also their decision to bring in many hero-ranked as bodyguards to the White Lotus Sword Domain. And now, the time has come to reap the rewards. For these young talents from the major powers, when it comes to inheriting true teachings, all the expenses are worth it. If it weren't for the protection of Lilibet the Azure Excalibur in the White Lotus Sword Domain, forbidding the entry of the legend rank powers, they might have even paid astronomical prices to invite a few true legend ranks to help them. In one corner of the camp, the banner of the Starwings Knights flies high. Yunshi's imagination was different from reality. The Starwings Knights, led by Yu, voluntarily joined the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. With Yu and Little Grass at the core, all the members of the Starwings Knights went into battle. Is it really okay like this? Entering this trial can be dangerous. Robin looked at Yu, who was polishing her platinum longsword, and reminded her once again. The trial of the White Lotus secret treasure was not a pretend game, but a real battlefield. Unlike other powerful forces in the Endless Gods domains, the newly formed Starwings Knights did not have the same influential background. They still appeared young and inexperienced. A knightly group, no matter how strong, is just a group of scattered sand without going through storms. Everyone here has true talent, but they lack experience in battle. Now is the moment to test their willpower. As the leader of the Starwings Knights, Yu knows both the strengths and weaknesses of her knight order. So, we're going to send them all to the battlefield. Robin couldn't quite understand why Yu was so confident. Just recently, most of the members of the Starwings Knights were low-ranking swordsmen, and there are only a few who have reached the hero-ranked level. Compared to the teams of other aristocratic families, the Starwings Knights only have talent to boast about. Their strength is far inferior to the teams prepared by those families for their own children. No one knows in what form the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure will unfold, and the worst outcome is a death and killing mode without regard for life. Even so, these aristocratic children who have come from far away will not give up on their pursuit of the White Lotus secret treasure. After all, this is the legendary path that unlocks supreme wisdom, the story of Yunhai the Sky Sword. Many people firmly believe that it is thanks to the blessings of the White Lotus secret treasure that Yunhai the Sky Sword embarked on an unprecedented journey. The question of whether cats exist has driven countless gods and wise men crazy, becoming the most unsettled puzzle in the Endless Gods domains. There are so many books about this question that they could fill a grand library, with supporters and opponents each holding their own opinions, and even sparking wars in the legend rank field. The path to the legend rank is so rare that the hundreds and thousands of talented families who are here are eager to begin the White Lotus trial. If the trial were to really unfold in a life-and-death battle, the Starwings Knights would truly face a mode of hell. Yes, if you want to have the power to protect then you must face battles. Yu drew a holy cross emblem on her chest. Only with blood and fire can the true Starwings Knights be forged. Because we are too weak, my started to act alone, which is a great shame for the Starwings Knights. To catch up to Mai's footsteps, no matter how cruel the trials may be, we will continue forward bravely. Mai. You have all fallen into deep poison. Robin shook her head. These symptoms were truly desperate. Isn't it the same for you? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Who are you? Smiled slightly, uncovering Robin's thoughts. Because, besides here, I have nowhere else to go. Robin also felt strange. She, an assassin well known on the 10-Leaf Alliance rankings, why did she impulsively join the Starwings Knights? And gradually, she got used to the unique atmosphere of the Starwings Knights, and for the first time, she had friends to laugh with and peers she could trust. For her, who carried the curse of the blood-drenched Robin, she could go anywhere but couldn't go anywhere at all. No one would look at her, no one would notice her existence, as if in a world that was as vast as the endless gods' domains, there was no place for her to stay. Now, she finally understood that she could no longer leave from here. Perhaps, she was also affected by a deadly toxin called Mai and immersed in this poisonous environment that only the Starwings Knights possessed. Then, please lend us your power. It was not surprising to Who Are You that Robin made this choice. Joining the Starwings Knights was already a special trial in itself. Because the Starwings Knights are also known as Mai's Knights, you know. Well, get ready to listen to my prophecy. Robin, the only diviner of the Starwings Knights, who can see into the mysterious river of destiny, began to use their power of prophecy. A blood-red bird fluttered around Robin's shoulder, speaking an ominous prophecy. The king has returned, and the child of the abyss is seeking ancient wisdom. The great serpent has coiled itself around the roots of the sacred tree, transforming into an evil black dragon that gnaws on the sweet roots. The giant that disappeared at dusk is awakening. The brilliance of the stars falls, and distant lovers await their reunion. The dragon roars, and the sky is ablaze. Prepare to wait for a bloody ending, you who cannot escape, for this is the burden you carry. The romance of the girls is an apple that one cannot escape. Opening their eyes, Robin shrugged their shoulders. Clearly, this was another unfortunate prophecy. It looked like someone was in big trouble, and in the end, it seemed to be related to the Starwings Knights. It all had something to do with an apple. But this apple had very different meanings. It could symbolize luck and life as a golden apple, or it could be a poisonous apple that could send someone to hell. Tall giants, abyss, black dragons. Who Are You savored the prophecy from Robin, as if she could see a storm approaching that would sweep through the entire White Lotus Sword domain. This was exactly what the Starwings Knights desired, the ultimate test. Chapter 932, The White Crying Sword BAA. One by one, the pure white and beautiful sheep fell in a pool of blood, their souls returning to heaven. Child Yoon he looked at the remaining trembling white sheep with burning eyes, and with a wicked smile, he raised his slaughter knife. These carefully nurtured white sheep had finally reached the point where they could be offered as sacrifices to the evil god. During this time, Child Yoon he was almost becoming a shepherd, as he could only find these beautiful sheep to offer as sacrifices to please the evil god he made a contract with. Fortunately, these days finally came to an end. After sacrificing more than 100 white sheep today, his dark powers were able to advance once again. Hiss. Greedily absorbing the rising abyssal aura from the sacrificial altar, Child Yoon his fair face turned an abnormal shade of red. This feeling, this power. I will make everyone know that I will reclaim everything I have lost with my own hand. No one can stop my colossal rise. What Starwings Knights, they're all stepping stones for me. Every muscle in his body, every nerve, was ecstatic. This was the triumphant cheer that exceeded the limits of the human race. This was the horn that marked the entrance into the non-human field. After sacrificing all the carefully nurtured white beauty sheep in one breath, Child Yoon he has undergone a transformation. Now, he can clearly feel the gaze from the abyss, as if some evil god is right beside him. Well, you have great talent in sacrificing, said Child Sanquan, looking satisfied as he watched Child Yoon he complete his first large-scale sacrifice. The magnificent Tlahui's Kalpanti Kutli is watching you. Only those who offer the most sacrifices can receive the blessings of the gods. Congratulations, your sacrifice has pleased the great Tlahui's Kalpantikutli. Although they aren't true llamas, these white, chubby beauty sheep that were raised have some of the bloodline of the sacred creature llamas. It's really surprising to see that Child Yoon Hee, who was originally just temporarily brought into the organization, has a talent for raising sheep. Not just anyone can take such good care of these precious white sheep and keep them healthy. By killing these white sheep that he raised himself, Yoon Hee gained unimaginable power. Now, he has reached a rank between the 4th and 5th rank of hero-ranked field. Compared to his previous weakness before joining the organization, he has completely transformed himself. As the host of the sacrifice, the young lord also received some of the rewards from the sacrifice, naturally entering hero-ranked. His hero-ranked is not just an ordinary hero-ranked. He has been suppressing himself from advancing, waiting for the moment to offer sacrifices to the ancient evil god Tlahui's Kalpantikutli. Unlike Yoon Hee's forced advancement at any cost, his advancement was planned long ago and everything fell into place. Compared to the powerful races in the endless gods' domains, humans are ultimately too weak in terms of their natural abilities. To embark on the path of true legend, one must be ruthless to themselves and not hesitate to abandon their human identity. From this perspective, Child Yoon Hee has truly joined the organization now, no longer a disposable pawn. Unfortunately, there's not enough time. Otherwise, I could have cultivated even more beautiful white sheep. Child Yoon Hee looked regretfully at the sacrificial altar strewn with corpses. He never expected that he would have a special affinity for these snow-white sheep, finding it quite easy to raise them. Perhaps, this is fate, a hidden talent he had never discovered. This trial of the White Lotus secret treasure is an opportunity for us. And it's time for a real action. Lord San Quan shook his feather fan, and the 5-animal fan sword, made from various precious bird feathers, finally manifested into a true god weapon. In the land of Child Yoon Hee, there was a special weapon called the God Weapon. It had a very wicked power, a curse that favored poison. This god weapon was not created in the usual way. It wasn't an ancient fantasy or a symbol of heroism. It lacked any historical significance or legends. However, in terms of mystery, it was equal to any legendary god weapon. That's because it was created using the power of an evil god. Only those favored by the evil god could use this cursed god weapon. Likewise, Child Yoon Hee also possessed his own cursed god weapon. It was designed specifically to kill the beautiful white sheep and offer them as sacrifices to the evil god Tlahui's Kalpantikutli. This sword was known as the White Crying Sword. Child Yoon Hee was very satisfied with this sword. It had a 300% damage bonus against all sheep-like creatures. Whenever a white sheep fell under the blade of this sword, it would cry endlessly, a sorrowful wail that served as proof of its cursed nature and the path of destruction it brought. Has the big dog not arrived yet? Child Yoon Hee couldn't wait to kill and slaughter, while wiping the fresh blood off his own cursed god weapon. His always chasing after his unattainable lover in his dreams, looks like there's no cure for him. 3 Quan Gongzi didn't think highly of this black demon dog, who inherited the bloodline of the mythical creature, Cerberus. Lost in his own breeding desires, with nothing else on his mind except for the golden princess, Cerberus has lost all his glory. Just a golden retriever, if he was really strong, he would have succeeded a long time ago. It seems like he has suffered a big loss from the Starwings Knights. Such a foolish dog, if it weren't for him being a descendant of Cerberus, he would have been kicked out of the group a long time ago. If only I had that kind of heritage. Child Yoon Hee couldn't help but feel envious. Why does that stupid dog have the ability of mythical creatures without doing anything? Even without sacrificing combat power, it continues to grow. It's just so unfair. Don't worry, it will eventually fall for a female and die. Lord San Quan patted Child Yoon Hee's shoulder. As followers of evil gods, they are divided into factions. These intelligent creatures, who have transformed from humans, and those dim-witted creatures with only strength, have never been in the same faction. For them, beings like the Black Demon Dog are just usable cannon fodder. Even the Black Demon Dog Prince is nothing more than slightly larger cannon fodder. In this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, Koran is the best candidate to be a meat shield. Oh, everyone is here, want some candy? Wearing black armor, the Black Demon Dog Prince, who has been hanging around at the White Lotus Sword Palace recently, came back with a bag of candy and started handing them out to his friends. Chapter 933, The Underwater City late at night, in the camps of the noble families and powerful forces from the endless gods' domains. A green thread quietly spread through these camps, belonging to those who had their candy eaten by the cloak-wearing girl during the day. Not everyone could make an equal exchange contract like she did with the precious divine wine. Most of the people whose candy was eaten completed a contract without even realizing it. Tonight, they began to dream. In their dreams, their consciousness descended into the deep sea. 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, 3,000 meters, the higher their cultivation, the deeper and darker the area they dived into. Even though it was a dark underwater abyss, there was an incredible light. Whispering murmurs filled their ears, incomprehensible but soul-shaking. Yeah, this is true compassion. O you, who are dull but clear-headed, rely on the mercy of the gods. Go, he is calling you in a very kind and generous way, feel this impulse. One by one, the dolphins swim leisurely in the sea, which is as deep as 8,000 meters below. Every now and then, they emit flickering electric lights, surrounded by electric stingrays with halos passing by. Finally, someone saw that. At first, it was just a vague and irregular shape. As the view gets closer, the reflection of an enormous ancient city emerges. It is a city built underwater, not a remnant of civilization submerged by rising sea levels, but one that was built from the depths of the ocean from the very beginning. Although it is hard to believe, the city's buildings were constructed on a solid underwater bedrock from the start, and many of them take on shapes similar to seashells. Layers upon layers of staircases, adorned with countless gemstones and pearls, resembling a paradise from myths. On both sides of the staircase, there are rooms with amazing, never-ending candlelight. However, the doors of these rooms are a little small for humans, as if they were meant for some kind of creature that isn't human. Hiss, hiss. Occasionally, strange sounds can be heard coming from these rooms, as if some creatures are peering out at the souls of the humans visiting. Like fireflies, small dots of light gather from all directions of the deep sea, guided by the mysterious sounds. This adds a touch of ethereal and enchanting atmosphere to this dreamlike underwater city. They are the main characters of this festival, invited by the owner of the underwater city. In response to the ancient summoning sounds, the dots of light form neat and orderly lines, eventually gathering in front of a temple that was built who knows when, in the center of the city. On top of the temple, there are mystical beings with unimaginable beauty and appearance, like mysterious shadows that cannot be fully seen by humans. One by one, tiny dots of light enter through the temple gates and disappear into its depths. Tonight, the ancient underwater city has welcomed many new visitors. Yeah. The whispers of a young girl echo through the grand temple of the underwater city, summoning more lost lambs. At this moment, most people haven't realized what they have encountered. For them, it is just a dream, an unbelievable dream. As they transform into dots of light, they devoutly kneel before the nameless statue in the temple, never lifting their eyes to see its true face. In their consciousness, they only see the cloaked girl who gives them candies during the day. I don't know why, but when everyone saw the cloak girl again, they all fell down on the ground, like devoted followers of a goddess, too respectful and sincere to have any disrespectful thoughts. Standing in front of an ancient and strange-looking statue, the cloak girl's green threads connected all the humans who had eaten her candy. Whether they were princes up high or descendants of prestigious families with a long history, in front of the cloak girl, they were all equal. After eating her candy, they had to offer their own power to fulfill her wishes. A large number of green threads gathered at the cloak girl's feet and stretched towards the lower part of the temple. That was an area that humans absolutely could not gaze upon, a monster haven filled with countless indescribable things. A lot of green threads, with a purpose, avoided many twisted things that shouldn't exist in the human world and directly targeted a heavily damaged and almost beyond repair humanoid being. It's him, responding to Sue's wish, the once dead creature started to come back to life, or maybe not exactly come back to life, but rather be reborn. In the depths of the dream, a green figure began to take shape. It's you, fight for me, my disciple." The girl in the cloak stretched out her hands, smiling as she looked at the monster that was born in the deepest corners of various human dreams. It was a nightmare wrapped in green flames, created by the girl in the cloak after devouring countless human souls, a wicked entity that died and came back to life as a hero. In his body, there were many chains originally wrapped around, but with the infiltration of numerous green threads, these chains that sealed his violent power began to crack section by section, turning into dust and disappearing. On the other hand, his wild long hair and the magical runes engraved on his skin began to awaken one by one. They were proof of an epic, the chosen flesh by the cloak girl. Strong and powerful muscles. Crazy and bloodthirsty gaze. The hero's proof, bestowed with the name of a demigod. And the tragic magic sword named Godslayer. This is Su, the Apostle of War. In the camp of the Princess of the Great Shia, Yunshi suddenly opened his eyes. Since just now, a strange aura has been drifting from the opposite camp, as if something is moving through it. It's as if something is walking in the darkness, shrouding the camps in an indescribable presence. Not just one camp, but the camp of a large number of children from prestigious families, was shrouded by that thing. Is it the means of those prestigious families? Sure enough, even those ancient prestigious families are taking it seriously for this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. That fleeting breath even reminded Yunshi of the ancient gods he had felt in the world of the original primordial dragon. Are they willing to do anything to obtain the White Lotus secret treasure? It seems that this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure will not be peaceful. I hope that White Lotus and Red Lotus will be okay. This trial of the White Lotus secret treasure gives Yunshi a very bad feeling. From beginning to end it exudes a strange aura. Yunshi has a vague feeling that his peaceful life in the White Lotus Sword Palace is about to be lost forever. Chapter 934. Opening the door in the early morning, endless golden light spread across the heavens and the earth. Except for Yunshi, who had a slight sense of what happened last night, most people knew nothing. From their appearance, the children from various prestigious families from the endless gods' domains seemed completely ordinary. To them, it was just a strange dream they had last night. Dreams are usually very personal, and there was some subconscious reason that prevented them from talking about it. So no one could discover anything unusual. At the moment when the sun rose on the eastern horizon, everyone saw a white line flash across the sky of the White Lotus Sword domain. Then, in the foggy sword body area, numerous paths leading deep into the domain were revealed, churning violently. In the sky, the twin witches appeared once again. "Let's begin, everything is determined by fate," White Lotus spoke first, extending her tiny hand and gesturing towards the crisscrossing paths. Each path represents a different trial. All paths lead to the ultimate secret realm. A great thing is waiting for your arrival. The maidens of fate will carry out their mission. Like a gentle swaying sorrow, memories entangled endlessly. The sadness that has been sleeping here will awaken, turning into pale tears and cries. The thread connecting the two intertwines, forming a larger spiral. Your confusion. Your longing. Your memories. Your soul. It is certain that they exist here. But what awaits you is an eternal phantom that cannot speak, listen, or be seen. Only those who have traveled beyond time, who have fulfilled the wish of the lost, can see the truth of everything. Dust returns to dust, soil returns to soil, only the soul remains eternal. You do not know, yet he is everywhere. Those who find the maidens will find the door to the treasure. Those who defeat the maidens will obtain petals of the treasure. For the one and only flower in the world, let the battle begin. Endless white light descended, and all those who had received the mark began to show petal-like marks on their bodies, proof that they were chosen to participate in the White Lotus secret treasure trial. From the basic shapes of triangles and circles, to the complex formation of 13 circles and 12 overlapping stars, they all converged here. Countless wisdom intertwined at this place. Endless radiance shimmered here. After millions of years of silence, the sacred tree Linjia, which Yunhai the Sky Sword had once seen, appeared once again in the world. The tree of wisdom, hidden in the depths of the world's rules, which should not have appeared in this era, finally opened its doors to all those who possessed the mark. Rule 1. The legend rank is not allowed to participate in the trial. Rule 2. Only those who possess the mark can enter the final secret realm. Rule 3. The trial participants must obtain the proof in the sword's region to open the doors of the secret realm. Rule 4. Defeat the witch to obtain the true White Lotus secret treasure. Other than that, there are no restrictions. In other words, besides these 4 rules, killing and plundering are allowed, as they are part of this trial. The entire sword region of the White Lotus sword domain has been transformed into a massive maze by the White Lotus secret treasure. The passages, which lead to unknown destinations, are the opened gates of the maze. No matter who my opponent is, I will conquer them, Prince Xia Jie of the Great Xia said with an expression of confidence, leading his black cavalry to enter the rightmost passage. Big brother, it looks like we'll have a tough battle ahead. Xia Ling's team, along with Xia Jie, officially joined the strongest team of the Sky Sword God's domain, the Great Xia dynasty. Yunxi looked at the camp where many children of prestigious families were located, feeling confused. Since the morning, they had been unusually silent and their actions were remarkably coordinated. What happened in their camp last night? Let's go. Okay. The group of noble children, who had developed an unspoken understanding, unanimously chose the central pathway. In their eyes, green worms were stirring. Child Yun He of the Evil God Squad wrinkled his nose in confusion. It's strange, why do they smell a bit like us? Indeed, this scent. Second young master Sanquan hesitated, clearly sensing something. I smelled it a long time ago, they must be infected, said Prince Black Demon Dog, who was more sensitive than Child Yun He when it came to noses. He had already noticed that something was off with those humans. It was odd, too. Last night, the 3 of them slept soundly, dreaming about the shadow of the great deity Tlahui's Kalpantikutli, who had disappeared not long ago. The pure white camel demon swung its hooves, knocking down its foolish followers one by one, as if warning them of something. But when they woke up, the 3 demon followers almost forgot what had happened in their dream last night, and couldn't remember what their master had said. Did they use forbidden magic? The archer named Yun Hai frowned as he watched the camp of noble descendants, who were moving like zombies. Such a large-scale use of forbidden magic was beyond imagination. They're just digging their own graves, serves them right for eating too much candy, Zi Yuan shrugged, clearly noticing the abnormality. The camp of the Ghost Sword domain was one of the very few that hadn't tasted the Cloak Girl's candy. The reason was simple, the entire camp of the Ghost Sword domain didn't need to eat, so their logistical needs were close to zero. In this world, of course, there was no living creature that didn't need food. However, in the team of the Ghost Sword domain, there were no living beings except for a fairy who had temporarily joined in disguise. At the same time, on the other side of the Sword domain area of the White Lotus Sword domain, located at the boundary between the mortal world and the Sword domain area, 3 giant dragons spread their wings and soared in the sky, causing the human legion on the 50-meter-high city wall nearby to shiver in fear. Desert Dragon Zaka, who rules the Desert Tribe Army and wields the divine sword the Star of the Sand, is a sandy-brown dragon. Ice Dragon Zaka, who commands endless icy storms and wields the divine sword Frost Dragon Teeth, is an ice-blue dragon. Red Dragon Zaka, the ruler of the endless Crimson Dragon Raw Wave and wielder of the divine artifact core of Molten Fire, is a deep red dragon. Hua Hua, the mother of the 3 dragons, rode on the back of the central red dragon Zaka and charged into the passage like a bulldozer. Chapter 935, A Familiar World. Just 5 minutes into the mist, Princess Xia Ling of the Great Xia noticed something strange about this path, or rather, this area of mist. According to logic, a journey of just 5 minutes should not be far from the starting camp. However, the scenery around them did not look like the border between the blade tip area and the blade body area. The ground was covered in large, unknown crystals that ranged from just over a meter to over 10 meters tall, resembling a crystal valley. Such unusual scenery would not go unnoticed if they were near the blade tip area. Stop, Xia Ling commanded, waving her hand to halt the team's advance. Those without marks could not unleash their power in the mist. This was a rule of the White Lotus secret treasure. That's why only 17 elites were chosen to join the Great Xia dynasty team in the end. Among them were 3 hero-ranked individuals, including Yun Shi, who was recruited. The hero-ranked team of 5 from the Great Xia Imperial Guard, who have obtained the mark of the White Lotus secret treasure, are all squad leaders. The others are responsible for logistics support and assistance, and they are elite members at the 3rd rank. As for the Great Xia Prince Xia Jie, he only trusts a group of 12 black cavalry soldiers. It seems that he doesn't trust anyone else. The team consists of 29 people, with 10 hero-ranked individuals, including the Great Xia Prince Xia Jie, the Princess of the Great Xia Xia Ling, the 5 hero-ranked members of the Imperial Guard, and 3 recruited hero-ranked individuals. Without a doubt, they are the top team for this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. Due to the special nature of the White Lotus secret treasure trial, the team from the Great Xia dynasty, who all hold the mark of the White Lotus secret treasure, can be said to have the largest number of members and the highest cultivation level among all teams. Can you report on the team's condition? Have there been any casualties? Since earlier, Xia Ling had a feeling of unease, as if there was something unseen lurking within this misty area. No casualties, but the path we came from has disappeared. Xia Hu, the squad leader who had once clashed with Yun Shi, delivered some bad news. Disappeared? Can you determine our current location? Xia Ling furrowed her brow, realizing that the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure was becoming more challenging than she had expected. Apart from Yun Hai the Sky Sword, no one had truly experienced the trial of the legendary White Lotus secret treasure before. It seemed that the difficulty level of this trial was even higher than she had imagined. No, all the instruments that indicate directions are not working. Xia Hu looked at the compass in his hand, which kept spinning, and shook his head. Sai Nan. Compass. Astronomical instrument. All the tools that can give directions, including the spirit tools, have lost their effectiveness within this misty area. The man even wondered if this was still part of the sword region in the White Lotus sword domain. The White Lotus sword domain is not a large-scale sword domain, and information about this sword region has been collected by the various powers of the Endless Gods domains to almost 100%. Except for the recently emerged Hydera the Water God domain, there is no area in the sword region of the White Lotus sword domain that can threaten the Great Xia dynasty's team. According to the rules of the White Lotus secret treasure, beings like Hydera the Water God are not allowed to interfere in the trial, so there is no need to consider the danger of entering the Water God's world. Unfortunately, it seems that everyone has greatly underestimated the danger of this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. Just the misty world that has turned into a crystal valley has rendered all the information collected by the various powers about the sword region in the White Lotus sword domain useless. From the moment they stepped into this mist, all the information about the White Lotus sword domain became abnormal. Here, it feels like a completely different world, showing extraordinary scenery. No wonder Xia Hu would doubt if this is still within the White Lotus sword domain. The spiritual energy density here is already on par with a paradise. As the princess of the Great Xia, Xia Ling had also been to the spiritual grounds of the Heaven's Path Palace to cultivate and experienced the rapid growth of her cultivation. There are very few paradises like the Heaven's Path Palace, which is known as the only place in the Eastern Gods domain that can rival the Sky Sword Gods domain. It is guarded by a few golden core cultivators who consider it extremely important. The admission quota each year is fiercely contested by numerous forces. It is said that the cultivation of a golden core cultivator requires the support of such a paradise. If those golden core cultivators were to find out about the paradise-like attributes here, they would probably stop at nothing to claim it. Truly worthy of the legendary White Lotus secret treasure, it is truly magnificent when it appears in the world. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The strange low rumbling sound started approaching the Great Xia dynasty's troops. The well-trained Imperial Guards immediately formed a defensive formation, entering the highest state of alertness. Have they finally arrived? Xia Ling had been sensing the presence of an enemy for a while now, so she was mentally prepared for their appearance. The trial of the White Lotus secret treasure was no child's play. Come on, whoever it is, my black cavalry will crush them. Despite losing to Yun Shi once, Xia Jie's confidence didn't waver in the slightest. His confidence came from the 12 silent black knights by his side. When these black-clad knights unsheathed their spears, The pressure they exerted made even Yunshi take notice. The mist spread, and finally, the enemies of the White Lotus secret treasure trial appeared before the great Xia dynasty's troops. They were a group of translucent bees, shining in a beautiful amber color like works of art. On top of their heads, they even wore the adorable name of crystal bees. But when Yunshi saw the bees, his face instantly turned pale. He remembered something important. It was the unforgettable memory of inheriting Yunhai's quadrant sword, from the past memories of Yunhai the Sky Sword. Bees. Could it be that place? Pulling out his mist ghost sword, Yunshi didn't hesitate to charge towards the group of crystal bees. Don't act rashly. Xia Ling watched as Yunshi rushed out, her expression filled with worry. Monkeys will always be monkeys, lacking any sense of cooperation. Xia Jie looked at Yunshi with a disdainful expression, secretly feeling pleased. Yunshi didn't have time to worry about the team from the great Xia dynasty behind him. If the trials in this world were really as he suspected, then it would be a terrifying world that would leave people feeling hopeless. Buzz. 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 The amber-colored crystal bees attacked Yunshi without hesitation, shooting out their stingers. So fast. Even Yunshi, who is very quick, thinks these bee stings are fast. If it were a normal third-level elite, they would be instantly killed. This is not an easy mode. It's a hell mode. Yunshi, who understands this kind of challenge, instantly understands the difficulty level of the White Lotus secret treasure trial. Chapter 936. The Sky Sword's footsteps. The Mist Ghost Sword moved gracefully, effortlessly slicing down one crystal bee after another in the simplest and easiest way. The defeated crystal bees turned into specks of light, disappearing into the mist. That's all. Xia Jie, leading his 12 black cavalry, looked at the wave of crystal bees with a disdainful expression. The black cavalry, dressed in black sword armor, were not afraid of the bee stings from these crystal bees at all. The sharp bee stings couldn't penetrate the black sword armor, let alone the prince of the great Xia's black flame dragon armor. Even if thousands of these monsters came, they would just be scratching an itch for him. He couldn't believe that he was a little nervous when this effeminate-looking guy went out to fight earlier. Now, it seemed like it was all unnecessary worry. Just a group of crystal bees, probably at the level of the third rank, couldn't cause any trouble. Why are you acting so impulsively? This is not like your usual style, Yun Q. Xia Ling watched Yunshi with confusion as he joined the battle against the crystal bees. How could skilled fighters from the Ghost Sword domain, who possess the 100 Ghost Sword, be scared by a group of third-tier crystal bees? The fighting power of these crystal bees is even weaker than the guards of the great Xia in Xia Ling's team. I think we're in big trouble. Yunshi took a deep breath. If things were as he imagined, the signal from these crystal bees would be disastrous. What trouble? These crystal bees. Even if there were 10,000 of them, they'd be a piece of cake. Xia Jie almost laughed at Yunshi's exaggerated reaction. Just a group of crystal bees that fight based on instinct, but here we have 10 hero-ranked fighters. Do you really need to be so surprised? Have you read the notes left by Yunhai the Sky Sword? Yunshi retorted to Xia Jie. On the third day of March, there were 300 crystal bees, 50 grass spirits, and 20 big grass spirits. On the fourth day of March, there were 200 crystal bees, 60 grass spirits, and 40 big grass spirits. On the fifth day of March, there were 420 crystal bees, 73 grass spirits, and 52 big grass spirits. On the sixth day of March, there was a great massacre. There were 1,000 crystal bees, 400 grass spirits, and 150 big grass spirits. As Yunshi kept announcing the increasing numbers, Xia Ling could sense that something was wrong, and her expression became grim. Millions of crystal bee kills. Millions of grass spirit kills. The notes on Yunhai the Sky Sword, which had been read by White Lotus, were not a secret in the Sky Sword god's domain. Now, she finally understood why Yun Q's reaction was so strange when she saw these crystal bees. Millions. Millions. This time, even Xia Jie's face turned pale. Being hero-ranked meant having absolute dominance over those ranked below, and it was not impossible to face hundreds or even thousands of opponents alone. But when the numbers reach the level of millions and tens of millions, it's different. Normally, humans can't gather a legion of that size, and no country can produce so many third-ranked elites. But this isn't a normal world, it's a trial in the White Lotus secret treasure. The common knowledge of the human world doesn't apply here. In other words, they could really encounter legions of monsters in the millions and tens of millions. Even hero-ranked experts, except for some special races, get tired and need water, food, and rest. And this is the enemy's home field. If I'm not mistaken, killing as many monsters as possible is meaningless here because the monsters use a respawn mechanism. Their number is not in the millions or billions, but infinite. Yun Shi, who has rich experience in this trial mode, knows that if you cannot meet the requirements to break through, no matter how much you kill these monsters, it will be useless. In the past, Yun Hai the Sky Sword was forced to unleash his hidden potential by these infinitely spawning monsters. He transformed from a powerless failed pharmacist into the later the Sky Sword. A young man, who was originally kind-hearted and aspired to become a pharmacist to help others, had to learn the divine sword technique because of a group of seemingly insignificant little bees. He achieved the accomplishment of killing millions and billions, and eventually became the Sky Sword. No wonder when Yun Shi arrived in this misty field, he always felt a strange sense of familiarity in the scenery here. This place is exactly like the canyon in Yun Hai the Sky Sword's memories that he couldn't find a way out of, except that after millions of years, the original rocks have turned into crystals. The beginner monster, the bee, has evolved into an elite monster called the Crystal Bee, gaining the power of the Third Order. If Yun Hai had encountered this type of bee in the beginning, he would have died thousands of times without being able to kill even one. This would be even more tragic than when Yun Shi faced the green-skinned hippo in the dark forest. Wait, Yun Shi just realized that if even the beginner monster bee has evolved into the current Crystal Bee, then what level have the stronger grass spirit and big grass spirit evolved to? Moreover, these three monsters are just the beginning of the creatures in this valley area. As Yun Hai the Sky Sword's memory fragments continue, he will encounter even stronger and more terrifying monsters. Infinite spawning, how are we supposed to fight this? Isn't this cheating? After learning about the mechanism of monster appearance in this valley, even someone as arrogant as Xie Jie is overwhelmed. His 12 black cavalry were unbeatable, but he still needed to eat and sleep, even though he prepared a lot of supplies for the Great Xia dynasty's trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, which could sustain the team for more than 3 years in the most extreme conditions. However, the opponents were endlessly respawnable monsters, so no matter how many supplies they had, it wouldn't be enough. As long as they were still flesh and blood, it was certain that they would be defeated when fighting against these infinitely respawnable monsters. After all, monsters could continuously revive, while the flesh and blood had their limits, unless they reached the legendary rank. No one dared to say they were immortal. In Yun Hai the Sky Sword's notes, there is a requirement that needs to be fulfilled in order to leave the initial area, Ling quickly remembered from the Sword God's notes. Although the Sword God's notes were incomplete, missing the records of the later stages, they still revealed some of the elements that Yun Hai the Sky Sword had cultivated back then. Yes, I remember that in order to leave the valley, we need to kill 1,000 crystal bees, 1,000,000 grass spirits and 500,000 big grass spirits. Yun Shi, a young man, clearly remembers these numbers. They are engraved in the legacy of Yun Hai's quadrant sword. However, when Yun Hai the Sky Sword achieved this feat, his opponents were not these crystal bees. This world seems like the scenery that has evolved for millions of years after Yun Hai the Sky Sword left. And Crystal Creek Valley is the starting point of his legendary tale. Chapter 937, Swarm of Bees. No wonder this place was once where the Sky Sword trained. The trials are really difficult. After Xie Jie learned about the requirements to pass Crystal Creek Valley, he breathed a sigh of relief. It didn't seem like an unsolvable problem to him. It's just killing 1,000,000 crystal bees like the ones we encountered earlier, with 100,000 grass spirits and 50,000 big grass spirits. Although it is rare for the human world to have such a large number of third-tier military units, it is mainly because the humans' logistical capabilities are simply unable to support such a huge number of troops. But the difference in combat power between hero-ranked and third-tier elites is absolute. Especially in terms of killing ability and maneuverability, His 12 black cavalry far surpasses this group of crystal bees who can only rely on instinct to fight. As long as he is given enough time, there is no need for others to intervene. His black cavalry can completely eliminate this large number of crystal bees. Leave it to me, large-scale tactics are my field. As the commander of the black cavalry, Xie Jie has absolute confidence in his strongest army. Brother, you are thinking too simply. Xie Ling's face is extremely bad. Compared to Xie Jie, who hasn't realized the seriousness of the situation, she is the one who truly understands why Yunxi is anxious. It's not that we don't trust the fighting abilities of the black cavalry. Whether it's Xie Jie, the commander known as the Tyrant, or the fearless 12 Black Knights, they are all strategic weapons capable of dominating the battlefield. The problem is that this battlefield is the absolute home turf of the enemy. On a normal battlefield, Big Brother, your black cavalry can defeat these crystal bees. But that's only possible if we have a strategic advantage. Big Brother, have you thought about what we should do if we can't leave this valley and have to face millions of crystal bees? Xie Jie paused, realizing the problem. Yes, the advantage of a hero ranked over a third-tier mortal is overwhelming. Strength, speed, endurance heroes on the path to transcendence can easily defeat hundreds or even thousands of elite third-tier mortals, even without using the powers of a god weapon. In essence, strong heroes and elite humans are not considered the same kind of beings. Even when faced with a large group of powerful enemies, heroes can easily escape and then come back to fight at full strength. That's why he is confident that he and the Black Cavalry can complete the million-kill trial. But there's one condition for this plan: it relies on having enough space in the valley for their maneuvering. If there's no room to move, what will happen when only 10 heroes are surrounded by over 1 million third-tier soldiers? Xie Jie is just a little too indulgent with his younger sister, but he's not really foolish. That's why he is considered the heir to the great Xie dynasty. Oh no. The forecasted results made Xie Jie's face change for the first time. There is some bad news. Yunxi really didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the current situation made it necessary to speak up. These bees are just the lowest-level small monsters in this trial. Next, they will have to face stronger grass spirits and big grass spirits. They won't be able to leave this valley unless they kill enough of them. Without Yunxi even having to remind them, the guards of the great Xie dynasty quickly started building a defensive camp. Only the chosen ones who have obtained the mark of the White Lotus secret treasure can enter the trial, but they can't bring any tools with them. In just a short moment, a war fortress about 30 meters high, in the shape of an octagon diamond, with each corner standing tall with engraved runes, and filled with a large number of spirit stones, was built. The immense wealth of the great Xie dynasty was suddenly revealed. The cost of building this fortress of war is probably higher than the entire White Lotus Sword Palace. Inside, it holds enough supplies to sustain this small team for over 3 years in the most extreme conditions. Moreover, besides the stored spirit stones, the fortress itself is powered by the energy of the Earth's veins. It can absorb the power of the Earth's veins to defend and counterattack, making it a true fortress that combines offense and defense. Apart from being immobile, this fortress has no weaknesses. Being able to split such a weapon of war into a size that a team can carry represents the strength of the great Xie dynasty in terms of war machines. Dragon Palace City, that is the name of this fortress. It is the highest level fortress beneath the Dragon Emperor's palace, used only by the great Xie Emperor. The great Xie dynasty specifically provided this invincible shield to Xie Jie and Xie Ling. But even the skilled artisans who built this fortress of war could not have imagined the terrifying trials it would face in the White Lotus secret treasure trial. I didn't expect to bring out our trump card so soon. Xie Ling frowned as she watched the logistical support team continuously adjusting various formations. Could it be that the trials Yun Hai the Swordmaster went through were truly so cruel? No, back then, he only fought against small monsters with a combat power of about the first tier. Yunxi thought it would be better not to tell the princess of the great Xie the truth before him. I refuse to believe that there is no other way to break through besides killing 10 million crystal bees. Xie Jie clearly did not accept his fate. With his 12 black cavalry, he charged straight into the depths of Crystal Creek Valley, trying to find a way out of the valley. About 10 minutes later, there was a large sound of wings flapping and strange shua, shua noises coming from the depths of Crystal Creek Valley. A legion of crystal bees, numbering over 3,000, chased after the Great Shia Prince's team with great force as they emerged from the respawn nest. In addition to these crystal bees, the two other monsters mentioned in Yun Hai the Sky Sword's diary also made their appearances one by one. Like the transformed crystal bees, the names of these two monsters also changed, transforming from weak to powerful creatures. The crystal grass spirit, sharp leaves resembling sword orchids, standing over 2 meters tall. No one would associate this creature with weak and powerless plant spirits. The crystal big grass spirit, covered in deep green emerald leaves and reaching a height of 5 meters, some even believed it to be a giant. Although their aura remained below the 3rd rank, the strength of the two grass spirits clearly surpassed the limits of humans, entering a realm beyond imagination. This realm was not unfamiliar to Yun Shi, for strictly speaking, he himself was also a special existence in this way. His hero-ranked status, which is equivalent to the rank of a hero, has not yet reached the 4th rank. Just like his childhood sweetheart, he possesses a power that surpasses the usual standards. Chapter 938. The sword transforms into spirit. Great, my brother has completed his mission, Xia Ling eagerly exclaimed when she saw a large swarm of crystal bees chasing after Xia Jie, along with crystal big grass spirits mixed among them. The insanely difficult trial of the White Lotus secret treasure did not deter the princess from the Great Xia. If anything, it ignited her competitive spirit even more. If she couldn't surpass such a trial, how could she have the qualifications to pursue the footsteps of the Sky Sword? In order to defeat the monstrous Hua Hua, Xia Ling must obtain the White Lotus secret treasure and not let anyone else have it. The twin dragon sword was unsheathed, and with a mighty swing, the colossal sword unleashed Xia Ling's burning fighting spirit. This was the first time that Yun Shi had a close encounter with the legendary technique of transforming a sword into a spirit. It was said that Xia Ling, the only princess of the Great Xia, had mastered this secret technique in the entire kingdom. From drawing her sword to gathering her strength, Xia Ling seemed to have entered another world. Her whole body was surrounded by emerald-colored dots of light. While being chased by a large group of crystal bees, Xia Jie looked up and saw Xia Ling preparing to unleash her power. Without hesitation, he waved his hand, causing the black cavalry to split into two and revealing the army of crystal monsters chasing from behind. Capture count, 3,000. Xia Ling exclaimed with excitement, gripping her sword with both hands. She swiftly turned around and leaped high into the air. In that instant, numerous green dots of light gathered around her, causing her to hover in mid-air, as if she were floating like a fairy. Dragon God's sword, devour my enemies. The twin dragon sword, covered in countless green light spots, released a pleasant dragon roar. It soared high up, transforming into a green dragon in the sky, diving down towards the crystal monster army. With its long and sinuous body, intelligent eyes, and vivid dragon claws, this green true dragon was fundamentally different from the black flame dragon created by Xia Jie's black flame dragon armor. Through the eyes of this green true dragon, one could see its wisdom and dignity, like a manifestation of Xia Ling herself. Xia Jie's black flame dragon, a dragon soul revived by harnessing the power of the Great Xia's dragon veins to forge the black flame dragon armor, was wild and difficult to control. Until now, Xia Jie has not been able to fully control the power of this black flame dragon soul. As for Xia Ling's green dragon shadow, it was completely cultivated by her own efforts and possessed infinite potential. The green dragon spirit transformed by the twin dragon sword has a perfect affinity with Xia Ling, as if it is a part of her. As the green dragon spirit charges into the army of crystal monsters, dozens of crystal bees explode with a single claw strike, and a single tail swipe can crush more than 10 crystal grass spirits. Even the rare crystal big grass spirit is no match for this green dragon spirit, as it easily shatters with a gentle bite. In about 10 seconds, half of the army of over 3,000 monsters is annihilated by this green dragon shadow. However, the green dragon shadow has also exhausted most of its power and starts to gradually become transparent. Boom! Xia Ling, descending from the sky, extends her 5 fingers and tightens her grip suddenly. The now transparent green dragon shadow lets out a long howl towards the sky, before its entire body explodes. A green wave of light swept across the land, turning almost half of the remaining monster army into dust. A vivid green circle appeared on the ground, with only a few stray cats left at the edges. Leading his black cavalry, Xie Jie made a swift attack, eliminating the remaining crystal monsters. This was the first time she had seen the princess of the Great Xie, Ling, fight with all her might on the battlefield. It was no wonder she was once ranked first in the White Lotus Sword Palace. Her attack power, attack range, and ability to control sword spirits far surpassed that of normal heroes. Her talent in swordsmanship was second only to Xi's childhood friend. Her technique of turning the sword into spirit had reached an astounding level of mastery. The god weapon she possessed, the twin dragon sword, was tailor-made just for her and perfectly matched her. This is a princess who is very close to being perfect. She didn't have her talents until she made a contract with a mysterious being called the Killing Princess Elise. By judging her based on the normal hero-ranked 4th rank, she is also an extraordinary existence. Xie Ling is like a genius among geniuses, an unparalleled talent. Unfortunately, in Xi's perspective, his childhood friend Hua is the standard, and even below that is the ability to communicate with spirits, which is the ultimate boss of this trial called White Lotus, the Twin Witches. As long as he doesn't compare her to his childhood friend Hua, this person must be very outstanding. Xi thought this after witnessing Xie Ling's performance. You noticed it, didn't you, Q? Xie Ling only became slightly happy after using her sword technique to eliminate 3,000 crystal monsters, and then she discovered the problem. Her technique of turning a sword into a spirit is a powerful attack that unleashes the strength of the god weapon. In a normal world, this attack would create a deep hole in the ground, reaching tens of meters deep and covering a distance of over 100 meters. The power of the true dragon is incredibly terrifying. But in the Crystal Creek Valley, the power of the dragon spirit that she ignited only created a circle of green light on the ground. This means that the ground in Crystal Creek Valley is incredibly strong and cannot be destroyed. Well, it's probably impossible to leave here without completing the trial or destroying the terrain. Xi knew this style of trial very well. Even if the terrain is partially destroyed, the map will reset as long as the mission objective is not completed. Xi learned this lesson after dying time and time again. The monsters that appear through the refresh mechanism do not get tired, they do not need food. They simply exist as enemies within the trial. They do not feel fear and there is no thought of escaping. If you want to pass this kind of trial, you can only kill your way through, there are no other choices. Just like the trial in the dark forest, the only way to pass is to wake up the sleeping beauty in the forest with a kiss. The condition to pass Crystal Creek Valley is to kill 10 million crystal bees, 1 million crystal grass spirits, and 500,000 crystal big grass spirits. If even one is missing, you won't receive a passing evaluation. Just like how Xi didn't kiss the sleeping princess in the dark forest, the water god didn't become the new bride of the water god world, and the original dragon world didn't defeat the original dragon, the trial will never end. Compared to the task goals that Xi needs to achieve, the trial goals in Crystal Creek Valley are actually very simple and easy to understand. However, there is no bonfire here for revival. If you die, you're probably really dead. Just as Xi was thinking this, he suddenly saw something very familiar in a corner of the battlefield in Crystal Creek Valley. Warm firelight, a sword stuck upside down, and an everlasting firewood. Chapter 939, A Different Bonfire. What are you looking at, Q? After using a powerful technique, the sword spirit transformation, to easily defeat a legion of 3,000 monsters, Xie Ling's energy was temporarily depleted. This is where the importance of Dragon Palace City comes into play. Without this fortress as a base, along with companions like Xie Jie and Q, who are hero-ranked, Xie Ling wouldn't use such an ultimate move in this battlefield with no escape. The tactic of saving the ace battle power for the last moment is not suitable for this trial, where enemies keep respawning endlessly. Whenever there is an opportunity, causing massive damage with the strongest means possible is the most effective and simple tactic, which is especially suitable for this trial. Can you see it? Xi extended his hand, pointing towards a bonfire at one corner of the battlefield. It was just a pile of bonfire that hadn't burned out. After Yunshi reminded her, Xia Ling also noticed that something was off about this bonfire. Of course, she had never seen this bonfire before, but after carefully observing it, she immediately noticed something extraordinary. Why is the firewood in this bonfire not being consumed at all? What is that sword? Come, let's go and take a look. After observing for 10 seconds, Xia Ling's intuition told her that there was some kind of incredible power inside this bonfire. This is the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, anything could appear. Hey, wait a minute. What kind of potion did you give my sister to make her talk like that? When Xia Jie led his black cavalry triumphantly back to the city, what he saw was Xia Ling and Yunshi walking away together. Wait for me. Dreaming that you could be alone together, how foolish. Unbelievable, it's such a divine object. Xia Ling gently touched the warm bonfire with her fingertips, her face filled with shock. Weapon enhancement requires gemstones as materials. Collect killing value to enhance the innate abilities of your body's race. How could there be such a heaven-defying divine object in this world? The more Xia Ling felt the immense information contained in the bonfire, the more shocked she became. Especially collecting killing value can enhance the racial talents, enough to drive any hero-ranked individual mad. The upper limit of racial value is directly related to advancing to the legend rank. In this trial, there is actually such a heaven-defying reward. White Lotus secret treasure, it's so terrifying. Yunshi also sighed, so it turns out to be a weakened version of Bonfire. Unfortunately, this bonfire here doesn't have the ability to resurrect. It seems that without the blessing of the will of the stars, infinite resurrection is still impossible. But just by enhancing weapons and improving racial talents, it is already very powerful. It seems that the abilities of this bonfire are based on the one he is familiar with. Even with the simplified version, Xia Ling, the princess of the Great Xia, seemed scared judging by her astonished expression. However, Yunshi was perplexed as he calculated the killing value in the bonfire, the ratio of racial talents and the number of gems needed to enhance a weapon. He had a puzzled look on his face. The requirements here seemed much higher compared to the original version of the bonfire. The killing value needed to increase physical abilities had increased more than 1,000 times, and the number of gems needed to enhance weapons was calculated in the hundreds. As for the final option to enhance racial talents, it was an astronomical number that was intimidating. Compared to Yunshi's speedy enhancement using the seed system, it felt like a shady business that took advantage of people. However, it seemed like only Yunshi, who had enjoyed the original version of the bonfire, thought this way. 30 million, how can 30 million be enough? Yunshi arrived late, and learned about the mysterious power of the bonfire from his sister Xia Ling, causing his eyes to turn red. He excitedly rubbed his hands together and paced back and forth by the bonfire, with a look of fanaticism on his face. My killing value is 350, sister, what about yours? Probably around 3,200. Even Xia Ling, who was always focused on swordsmanship, seemed excited. 3,000, not even enough to increase basic physical attributes a little. And according to Yunshi's experience, the higher the value needed to advance later on, the more it increased. Compared to the settlement mechanism of the star trials, the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure was simply outrageous, trapping people and not worth the risk. But in the eyes of the princess and prince of the Great Xia, this place was like a sacred land, and this pile of bonfires was a miraculous object that could change fate. In the endless gods' domains, humans wanted to improve their physical abilities. Especially those who had reached the hero-ranked level, they had to work hard day and night to achieve this. Just like the Red Steel genre, a genre that aimed to push the limits of the human body, they spent years wearing heavy chains like sinners, bravely challenging terrifying monsters. They often ended up in a state of silence, just to improve their physical limits by a small amount. But here, all they needed to do was to kill, to engage in frenzied slaughter, and they would have the chance to enhance their physical abilities to the limit. The experts of the Red Steel genre realized this and were willing to risk their lives to come here. As for enhancing innate talents, it was an opportunity that could drive countless hero-ranked experts insane, as they saw their future limits. Humans were not an incredibly powerful species, their greatest advantage was being average. Compared to the natural talents of fairies and dragons, who are known as world favorites, human talents are far inferior. To advance to hero-ranked status, there is a race limit that acts as a barrier. All human strongholds who are able to break through that barrier are, in a sense, monsters. Any method that can increase the race limit, even forbidden techniques, are considered priceless treasures. To enter the world of the legend rank, countless humans are driven to madness in search of this method, no matter the cost or means. Even Princess Xia Ling of the Great Xia dynasty was shocked upon discovering the abilities of this bonfire. No wonder the legendary sword master, Yunhai the Sky Sword, rose so rapidly after obtaining the power of the White Lotus secret treasure. From being a mediocre pharmacist who failed the test, to becoming a prominent swordmaster, many have studied the rise of this commoner, the Sky Sword. In the end, they could only speculate from the notes he left behind that there may be a connection with the White Lotus secret treasure. Now, Xia Ling finally discovered how Yunhai the Sky Sword improved her racial talents and ultimately reached the legend rank. White Lotus secret treasure turned out to be even more magical than she had imagined. This trial between life and death was the biggest opportunity of her life. 30 million is definitely not enough. Calculating the kill limit of crystal bees in Crystal Creek Valley, Xia Ling even had a displeased expression similar to Xia Jie's. Why is there a limit to monster kills? Chapter 940, Fervor. Alright, I'm going to kill with gusto. After discovering the mysterious rewards hidden in the bonfire, Xia Jie swept away his previous dissatisfaction. Even for the prince of the Great Xia, this was an extraordinary stroke of luck. After the conclusion of this trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, those who missed out on this opportunity would likely regret it endlessly. Once word gets out about the rewards for the White Lotus secret treasure trial, the next opening of the White Lotus secret treasure would probably trigger a bloody catastrophe in the Endless Gods domains. The prices of houses in White Lotus Sword domain might go up to the sky. But all of this is a story for another time. As the chosen one for the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, killing is everything right now. The crystal monsters, which used to bring great pressure, have now become experienced treasures in Xia Jie's eyes. As long as he can level up, even if he kills until it's pitch dark here, with no light from the sun and moon, he won't get tired. With this pile of bonfires to enhance weapon levels and physical limits, the seemingly impossible task of killing 1 million crystal bees and 100,000 crystal grass spirits, and 50,000 big grass spirits, is no longer impossible. For a hero-ranked strong individual, even a slight improvement in physical fitness is a breakthrough that sets them apart from ordinary people. At this stage, even a tiny breakthrough is important for advancement. Not to mention, there is also the final reward of enhancing racial talent. In the land of legends, the hero-ranked warriors all strive for the immeasurable power of racial talents. It is the key that leads them to the rank of legends. In the legends, true dragons have no limits between mortal and hero-ranked. As they age, all dragons can reach the peak of hero-ranked and even surpass the concept of hero-ranked for humans. For humans, even those known as the rare geniuses among thousands, most of them exhaust their potential after reaching hero-ranked. To advance further, they can only rely on the power of god weapons. Kill, 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 kill. Leading their black cavalry, Xia Jie fearlessly charges into the depths of Crystal Creek Valley. Do you want to give it a try? Xia Ling also eagerly raises her small hand and consumes a precious elixir, rapidly restoring her energy. This kind of special pill that is useful for hero-ranked individuals is a rare creation by the Medicine Pill Master, a special profession in the Heaven's Path Palace. Each pill is very valuable and cannot be bought with money. It is a true strategic resource. If Xia Ling, the princess of the Great Xia dynasty, wasn't who she is, she wouldn't be able to buy even a single pill like this in her whole life. It's not something that can be acquired with money, it's a truly precious item. Be careful. Yunshi always felt that obtaining these killing values wouldn't be so simple. Considering the difficulty he faced during the Trial of the Stars, it seemed too generous for him to be able to constantly gain killing values by killing third-level monsters with his hero-ranked strength. The trial conducted by Yunhai the Sky Sword was a path of killing for him, a mere mortal, challenging monsters far beyond his limits. In order to achieve the goal of killing 10 million, he must have died many times without even realizing it. As for what's behind me, I'll leave it to you. Xia Ling had an unusual sense of trust in the newly joined Q, although she didn't know why. Ever since Q appeared by her side, good luck followed one after another. The bonfire she found seemed to completely change her destiny. Does black hair really bring luck? Xia Ling glanced at the ponytail behind Xi for the first time, thinking that perhaps there was some truth to the legend. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Inside the gigantic crystal bee hive, countless crystal bees were busy buzzing around, their wings making crisp sounds. Attack! Xia Jie, who had come here for the second time, raised his dark sword and led his 12 black cavalry charging towards the hundreds and thousands of crystal bees. The tireless black knights tore through the ranks of the crystal bees like sharp blades. Flashes of black light appeared, defeating these elite monsters whose power was equivalent to the Third Order, enough to make ordinary people despair. Ha ha ha, killing monsters is so thrilling. Xia Jie laughed gleefully, watching his killing value continuously increase. If we keep killing like this, even if we kill for 7 days and 7 nights, he won't get tired. The exhilaration of leveling up is better than anything else. Compared to the tyrannical Xia Jie, the later Xia Ling is more rational. The twin dragon sword always uses simple and effective moves to quickly kill the monsters within its attack range. Even though Xia Ling knows about the incredible power of bonfires, she remains clear-headed and doesn't fall into the same killing frenzy as Xia Jie. Stable, efficient, and never wasting any strength. This contrasts sharply with Xia Jie's wild and frenzied slaughter. As for Xi, he walks leisurely on the battlefield, sensing the increasingly bloodthirsty taste of killing. It's strange, these monsters, but they can't seem to trigger any bloody impulse in the killing princess. These crystal bees look like pure creatures of nature. But why do these natural creatures have an infinite respawn mechanism? In a world that seemed like it wasn't real, there was a small bonfire. Even though it was a smaller version, the mechanics of this place were very similar to the world of trials. Was this world always this unreal, or was it the essence of the trials themselves? Xi, who had sensed something unique about the trials a long time ago, once again discovered some of its secrets. Was he like a butterfly that had entered a dream in the world of trials? Or perhaps, the whole world of trials was just a butterfly's dream? Which side was the reality? Or maybe, from the very beginning, there was no such thing as reality. We can level up now. After hours of relentless killing, Xia Jie led his black cavalry out of Crystal Creek Valley, rushing towards the bonfire to obtain that crucial reward. Not long after, Xia Jie came back and he looked extremely excited. All the exhaustion from the killings disappeared. It's true, I have truly become stronger. My power, I am the chosen one. With a powerful swing of his dark sword, Xia Jie easily defeated dozens of crystal bees. The great Xia's prince was thrilled beyond measure by his unstoppable strength. Even as the prince of the great Xia, he never imagined that there could be such incredible trials in this world. Just by killing third-tier monsters, he could improve his physical abilities. And there was even a reward to enhance his racial talents. It was really amazing. On the other hand, Xi smelled danger from the crystal bees hovering around him. Chapter 941. The Scarlet Letter. It was a very subtle change, probably only noticeable by Xi, who had experienced even more brutal trials. The crystal bees, which had been treated as practice targets by Xia Ling and Xia Jie, were quietly changing their behavior patterns. Initially, these crystal bees, who had never encountered any foreign creatures in Crystal Creek Valley, would only attack and pursue their opponents according to a fixed pattern. That's why Xia Jie was able to effortlessly summon an army of 3,000 crystal bees and have Xia Ling wipe them all out in one move. But as the killings continued, these crystal bees, who originally acted solely on instinct, were evolving. At first, the encountered crystal bees only had one fighting pattern. Acting on their instincts, they would fly up and shoot their crystal stingers, or actively ram into their opponents. Now, after losing tens of thousands of their companions, the crystal bees that emerged again have started to learn how to dodge and focus their attacks. Although these crystal bees are still far from being a match for Xie Jie and Xie Ling due to their strength, Yunxi has long realized the pattern of these opponents growing stronger over time. Ha ha ha, I can level up again. This time, I'm going to level up 3 times in a row. Xie Jie, filled with excitement from the killing, commanded his 12 black cavalry, ruthlessly slaughtering their enemies, with an unstoppable killing spree, becoming godlike in their killing spree, like monsters. Even Xie Ling, who is less impulsive than Xie Jie, has become faster and stronger in her attacks. The killing value of the two even made a faint red light emit from their bodies. Be careful. Yunxi instinctively sensed that things were starting to go wrong. The timid coward, who doesn't even know how to fight monsters, quickly go back and guard the house. Xie Jie, a skilled and fearless warrior, held the powerful dark sword +9, displaying an aura of contempt for the world. What's wrong? Xie Ling frowned as she looked at the faint red light emanating from her body. This kind of lingering scent of slaughter, she felt it for the first time, as if she had been marked by something. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Countless crystal bees accompanied by hundreds and thousands of crystal grass spirits and big grass spirits appeared in a frenzy, rushing towards Xie Jie and Xie Ling. This wave of attack increased in intensity tenfold. You are digging your own grave. Xie Jie, whose eyes were bloodshot, completely fell into a state of war frenzy and fearlessly activated the Dragon Soul moment under the protection of the 12 black cavalry. Time suddenly slowed down in Xie Jie's eyes, and the fearsome black flame dragon spirit wrapped in black flames became even more powerful under the cover of the red light. The Dragon Soul in the black flame dragon armor seemed to be very satisfied with Xie Jie's desire to kill, and rarely cooperated actively with the great Xie's wild prince. Eat my black dragon wave. Compared to Xie Ling's sword spirit transformation technique, Xie Jie's black dragon wave lacked that kind of spirituality, but its destructive aura continued to increase. This was the true nature of the black dragon, incredibly brutal. As the embodiment of the black dragon, Xie Jie rushed into the center of the crystal bee army, which numbered in the tens of thousands. The burning black flames turned all the crystal bees within a few dozen meters into ashes. I am the chosen one. These small monsters, no matter how many come, are not enough for me to kill. At this moment, Xie Jie undoubtedly reached the peak of his life. The power boosted by the bonfire made him see the possibility of surpassing his own limits. All the crystal bees in front of him became his killing targets. The 12 black cavalry closely followed Xie Jie, also engaging in the frenzy of killing. But their hearts did not skip a beat, which surprised Yunxi a little. These dark knights, surprisingly, had a stronger will than the prince of the Great Xie, and they seemed unaffected by the aura of killing in Crystal Creek Valley. Boom! A massive black pillar of fire shot up into the sky as Xie Jie raised his dark sword high. Under his feet lay the corpses of thousands of crystal bees. This is what it means to be a hero-ranked and possess a legendary god weapon. They have absolute dominance over those beneath them. Only heroes can resist heroes. Only legends can resist legends. Under hero-ranked, everything is considered insignificant, and this is a truth recognized by countless people. Buzz, buzz, buzz. More crystal bees emerged from their hives. These strange creatures, with their transparent bodies, seemed to have no concept of fear and would fight until the very end. Come on, little darlings. Xie Jie, at the peak of his excitement, was fearless. Now, whether it was 10,000 or 20,000 crystal bees, he could defeat them all. It was an unparalleled feeling. What he didn't notice was that the numerous dead crystal bee bodies were being absorbed into the massive glowing spots on the enormous crystal bee hive. As humans, they were unable to enter the crystal bee hive, so they had no way of knowing its secrets. In his most peak state ever, Xie Jie even believed that he could achieve the incredible feat of killing 10 million crystal bees on his own. Yes, just like Yun Hai the Sky Sword, Xie Jie believed he could do it too. Follow behind me. I will take you flying. With overflowing confidence, Xie Jie waved his hand. With 5 minutes left in his Dragon Soul moment, now was the time to go on a crazy killing spree. This time, he alone had to defeat at least 100,000 crystal creatures. Although my brother may seem a bit reckless, he does have his own strengths, Xie Ling said as she watched Xie Jie charge into the enemy's central army, raising her twin dragon sword. Sometimes, you just have to believe in him. Without a doubt, Xia Ling chose to trust Xia Jie over the unfamiliar Yun Shi, and decided to continue the slaughter. The twin swords transformed into streaks of light, once again joining the battlefield. Yun Shi shook his head and did not stop Xia Ling. He carefully observed the battlefield, preparing for the worst. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The crystal bees, continuously being killed, began to perform a strange dance. It was a constantly changing figure-8 dance. As the death toll increased, a certain special pheromone began to spread. Once upon a time, the crystal bee army was joined by a special grass spirit, the big grass spirit. But one day, the big grass spirit disappeared without a trace. The red light on Xia Jie and Xia Ling became even brighter. When the combined killing value of the two reached a critical point of 100,000, Yun Shi heard a voice. It was an angry, furious, and full of hatred voice. The owner of that voice came from the deepest part of the bee hive. Chapter 942. The Angry Leader Bee. Anger. Anger. Endless anger. At the moment when Xia Jie and Xia Ling's killing value broke the barrier of 100,000, countless specks of light began to gather at a specific spot in the deepest part of the crystal bee hive. From a previously empty position, a special individual, much smaller than the regular crystal bees but with dreamy red and blue spikes on its tail, started to appear. If we consider the regular crystal bees as the lowest-ranking worker bees in the hive, then the one being born in the crystal bee hive at this moment is the leader who commands all the worker bees. Listening to the commands coming from deep within the crystal bee hive, the newly born leader bee spread its transparent wings and swiftly blended in with the swarm of ordinary bees that were continuously setting off. The leader bee, with its hidden special stinger, looked no different from the other crystal bees, except for being slightly smaller in size. Xia Jie and Xia Ling, who were engaged in a fierce battle, were completely unaware of the birth of the leader bee in the crystal hive. Only Yun Shi, with keen observation, noticed the change in the crystal bee swarm surrounding Xia Jie and Xia Ling. It was a beautiful change, imbued with an artistic quality. Originally flying in disarray, attacking bees began forming magnificent formations as if they were receiving commands from a conductor. From different directions and angles, their stingers locked onto Xia Jie and Xia Ling, who were engaged in constant combat. Different from all the attacks so far, even though they were ready to shoot, none of the crystal bees launched an attack in advance. All the crystal bees' actions became synchronized, as if there was a magical conductor arranging them. Now even Xia Jie, who was not very perceptive, noticed that something was wrong. Unfortunately, it was too late. Buzz, buzz, buzz. An incredibly dazzling, magnificent, and wild storm of bee stingers began. Each bee stinger carried sparkling red and blue lights, interweaving and overlapping, forming a barrage that no one could avoid. It was a never-ending barrage, like a swirling galaxy, composed of over 100,000 stingers per second, creating a deadly storm. Xia Jie's pride in his agility and impact force. Xia Ling's extraordinary talent in swordsmanship and spatial awareness. The 12 Black Cavalry, tireless and possessing an iron-like will. All meaningless. This is a beautiful barrage of music played by the angry leader bee. This is the deadly rhythm bestowed upon these hard-working crystal bees by a higher existence. The power unleashed by the crystal bees at this moment is beyond what humans can imagine. No matter how powerful the human army is, they cannot match the attacking rhythm of the crystal bee army, releasing such magnificent and frenzied barrage attacks. Whether it's Xia Jie's Dragon Soul or Xia Ling's Sword Spirit transformation technique, they appear pale in the face of this ever-changing barrage, resembling the twinkling of stars. This attack is comparable to a divine sword technique. Ding, 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 ding. The first to bear the brunt of this attack, killing the most and the most ferocious, is the great Xia's prince, Xia Jie. His black flame dragon armor has withstood more than half of the bee stinger attacks. Facing this unavoidable barrage of bullets, even Xia Jie, who had activated his 10 times faster neural reaction, couldn't defend himself in time and was continuously tossed around like a drowning dog. The multi-level sting barrage struck the black flame dragon armor, causing a transformation. The human army could never concentrate the attacks of over tens of thousands of third-tier elites onto a single target, but the crystal bees could. What controls them is the mysterious power from the highest field, the power of invaders from beyond the endless god's domains. 50% of the remaining attacks were borne by the 12 black cavalry guarding Xia Jie, and the other half mercilessly struck the princess of the great Xia, Ling. The more killing value one has, the more severe the targeted storm of bee stings becomes. It was evident that the mysterious being who launched this wave of attacks had targeted its victim from the very beginning. Oh no! I hope there's still time. Yunxi rushed forward at the fastest speed and grabbed Xia Ling, who was bleeding heavily. As for Xia Jie, he couldn't be saved. However, judging from the fact that the 12 black cavalry were still able to move, his injuries weren't fatal. The tide of battle changed so quickly that not even Yunxi, who was prepared, could react in time. The endless barrage of bullets was terrifying. If he only relied on his sword skills, Yunxi knew that he would need to use Yunhai's quadrant sword to have a chance. Even the powerful princess of the great Xia Ling, was instantly hit by this wave of bullets and left in a critical state. Buzz! 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 The crystal swarm launched a magnificent barrage attack and showed no signs of stopping, continuing to fly and gather power. Run! Holding the severely injured princess of the great Xia, Yunxi appeared with more than one mist spirit girl behind him, obscuring the crystal swarm's line of sight, and they ran in different directions. In the next moment, thousands of bee stingers shot towards Yunxi, almost engulfing him in a never-ending barrage of death. On the other side, the 12 black cavalry, their armor pierced by countless bee stingers, revealed their dark grey bodies and encased the unconscious Xia Jie, forming a strange large ball. Boom! 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 The 12 black cavalry, forming a black sphere, started their escape with Xia Jie, heading towards Dragon Palace City. At this moment, the crystal bees had gained the power to annihilate the entire Great Xia team. The leader bee, hidden among the crystal bees, hesitated for a moment before choosing Xia Jie as the target of pursuit, as he had a higher killing value. Beside a warm bonfire, Yunxi looked at the princess of the great Xia beside him, who was in a state of heavy blood loss, breathing heavily, and wore a distressed expression. I still alive? Perhaps it was the light of hope brought by the bonfire that illuminated the darkness of death. With great effort, the weak Xia Ling opened her eyes and looked at Yunxi. Well, is there a way? Yunxi knew that there was no need for words. The princess of the great Xia wouldn't die so easily. The third pocket, pills 1 and 2. Bee sting, please. Struggling, Xia Ling managed to say the numbers of the life-saving pills before fainting again. The barrage attack, resembling a divine sword technique, made the princess of the great Xia sense death for the first time. Pills 1, 2. Yunxi took out the small pills hidden in Xia Ling's clothes. These were the life-saving pills, truly invaluable strategic resources. However, as Xia Ling had mentioned, before using these pills, they had to deal with the terrifying bee stings. Chapter 943, Administering Medication R. Seeing the dying princess of the great Xia before him, Yunxi knew he couldn't stand idly by. Even the best medicine, if those terrible bee stings are still inside the princess's body, it would be deadly poison, not a miraculous cure. If you look closely, Xia Ling is indeed a remarkable beauty. At the age of 17 or 18, she has thin and arched eyebrows, dense eyelashes, a straight nose, a petite rosy mouth, white and neat teeth, slightly pale but crystal clear cheeks, a slender and elegant neck like a swan, smooth and snow-white skin on her chest, and a face that glows with a slight blush. From her flushed jade cheeks, to her fair and slender neck, her alluring and sexy collarbones, delicate and slim arms, graceful jade-like back, flat stomach, slender waist, round snow-white hips, and long and slender legs, she would be even more beautiful if it weren't for the large amount of blood staining her body. She was wearing a pure white silk dress that Yunxi couldn't tell the material of. It seemed to have a very high level of defense, but unfortunately, it was completely ruined in the barrage attack from the Crystal Bee army. Now, the princess of the Great Xia said that it was not an exaggeration to say that she was barely covered, with more than 2/3 of her skin exposed to Yunxi, especially her long and beautiful legs, which were completely uncovered. Let's start from this side first, Yunshi said helplessly. He wasn't a pharmacist like Yunhai the swordmaster, so he had no idea how to treat injuries. He held Xia Ling's ankle, his fingers hooked onto the ribbon on her slender ankle, and carefully removed her exquisite silver-threaded shoes. The princess of the Great Xia had snow-white, delicate, boneless feet, with barely any signs of joints. They had perfect curves, just like flawless artworks, delicate and transparent. Yunshi lifted Xia Ling's delicate foot higher, causing the worn-out hem of her dress to slide down, revealing her pristine white legs. With tender and soft soles, her trembling little toes resembled those of a small rabbit, all passing through the palms of Yunshi's hands. Ding, ding, ding. Yunshi's fingers flicked away the transparent bee stingers that had pierced through Xia Ling's body, shaking off these terrifying killing instruments from her battered form. Only now could one understand the horror of the previous barrage of crystal bee stingers. In her final moments, Xia Ling had pushed her agility and speed to their limits. The twin dragon sword had even been pushed to the brink of exhaustion, yet within a few short seconds, all her defense systems had been destroyed, and she had been pierced by hundreds of bee stingers. The number of stingers on her legs and arches alone exceeded 3 digits. Ouch! Xia Ling slowly opened her eyes, feeling a sharp pain. She didn't know why her breathing was getting heavier and faster, like she was panting after running. Her cheeks turned rosy and her lips trembled as she let out a soft cry. No! Don't touch me there. I'm sorry, but if I don't remove it, you'll really die. Yunshi shook his head and continued working on removing the thorn. No! Please, don't. Please. Remove it quickly. The princess of the Great Xia sobbed sorrowfully by the bonfire, her beautiful face flushed with an intense red. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her body twitched slightly. Liquid flowed out of her, and her chest rose and fell dramatically, causing the ground to shake. The sensation of the girl's smooth skin on Yunshi's hand felt like touching a burning volcano. A certain uncontrollable desire was growing stronger, stirring within him. Don't worry, this is just healing. It's a sacred act of saving lives and a virtue of a noble person. Yunshi kept reminding himself as he continued to pull out the thorns for the princess of the Great Xia, who was crying in pain. As the thorns were being removed, the delicate robe, which was already on the verge of being damaged, finally gave in and fell apart without any warning. Xia Ling's slender and youthful body immediately exposed itself to the air, radiating a beauty that was even more dazzling than the white bedsheets. Eek! Xia Ling instinctively crossed her legs and raised her arms to protect her firm and soft bosom, but soon they became weak and drooped down. Her graceful breasts trembled in front of Yunshi. Don't worry. I wasn't looking. Yunshi closed his eyes and said a lie that wasn't entirely untrue. He wasn't intentionally staring, he just accidentally saw a little bit, really just a tiny bit. Keep going, pull it out. Xia Ling took a deep breath. At this point, she had no other choice. She didn't even have the strength to lift her hand. Yunshi continued his noble task, gently flicking Xia Ling's body with his fingertips, shaking out those deadly bee stingers. But the slippery feeling of his fingertips against her skin, and the occasional painful cry of the princess of the Great Xia biting down on her own lips, was making her heart race and her mind wander. If Yunshi could open his eyes at this moment, he would see that the tiny protruding cherry had turned into a dripping pink, giving off a deadly enticing scent. Ah. Ah ah. The soft, vulnerable moans of the young girl touched Yunshi's heart, making him unable to resist the urge to open his eyes and see the princess of the Great Xia under his fingertips, looking lovely and enchanting. The smooth and delicate feeling, the petite and slender body, became more sensitive as the thorn removal work progressed. Wait, there, no thorns. There, which position? Ah, this position is. Yunshi felt the soft touch of his fingertips, shaped like the meeting of lips, and his face blushed in an instant. As Xia Ling was being touched by Yunshi, she wished she could find a hole to hide in. How am I supposed to get married like this? Sobbing, I'll never get married in this lifetime. I should just dedicate my life to swordsmanship. Sorry, it looks like you can take medicine now. Yunshi took out the life-saving elixir he obtained from Xia Ling's secret pocket and closed his eyes, waiting for her to take it. I don't have the strength. Xia Ling had never been in such a miserable situation before. If possible, she even thought that dying in the midst of the magnificent barrage of bullets would be better. Ah! I forgot. Yunshi had to take off his own clothes and wrap them around the immobile Xia Ling. Then he opened his eyes and placed a small pill the size of a soybean in Xia Ling's mouth. With only the strength to chew, Xia Ling bit onto Yunshi's finger and slowly crushed the pill, filling her mouth with the scent of 1,000-year spiritual medicine. However, there was also an unexpected taste mixed in, one that would embarrass her for a lifetime. Chapter 944, Curiosity Killed the Cat. The princess of the great Xia, Xia Ling, felt utterly devastated after swallowing the life-saving pill. In her entire life, she had never felt such embarrassment. Although Yunshi had maintained his gentlemanly demeanor throughout, only providing necessary treatment without any inappropriate actions, once something is seen, it's seen. Once something is touched, it's touched. Every part of Xia Ling's body had been touched by Yunshi's fingertips, even the most private areas. Why did this happen? The princess of the great Xia exclaimed, looking utterly dejected as she struggled to sit up. The miraculous medicine called the Heaven Reversal Pill, refined from 1,000-year-old herb, truly lived up to its reputation as a magical remedy that could save someone as long as they had a breath left. It had brought her back from the brink of death, despite losing a significant amount of blood and suffering multiple internal injuries. However, some things lost can never be regained. Yunshi, pretending to be a genius swordsman from the ghost sword domain, could only be grateful for his cold and aloof demeanor. Silence was his answer to all the nonsensical and unanswerable questions. Silence is golden, silence is eternal, silence is the truth of this world. Thank you. Although she had been taken advantage of and never wanted to think back on the scene just now, Xia Ling knew that without Yunshi's intervention, she would have been doomed this time. Yunshi, the hero-ranked warrior, was surprised by the danger of the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. When the overwhelming red and blue lights appeared, Xia Ling could sense the presence of death. Yunshi nodded and patted Xia Ling's shoulder. He sat by the bonfire, pondering why this trial had such excessively difficult challenges. There was no doubt that the last wave of attacks by the crystal bees was beyond the capabilities of a normal hero-ranked warrior to survive. Even the princess of the great Xia, wielding the twin dragon sword, was overwhelmed by the onslaught. The crown prince of the great Xia, who had activated the dragon soul moment, couldn't last for even 10 seconds. Even Yunshi, who was mentally prepared, almost failed to save anyone. If the previous Yunhai the Sky Sword had encountered this wave of crystal bees, he would have been resurrected by the bonfire countless times. Strengthen the body. Recovering some strength, Xia Ling immediately used all his killing value to enhance his physical limits. The feeling of surpassing limits dispersed the shadow of death and gave her strength. Boom, boom, boom. The girl's heartbeat gradually grew strong and powerful. Her once gloomy eyes were now shining with a new light. Death didn't make her stop here. She is the princess of the great Xia and a swordsman following the footsteps of the Sky Sword. I won't stop. I must become taller, faster, and stronger. I will always remember today's shame. Xia Ling bit her lip and looked at Yunshi, who had his back turned to her, with a complex expression in her eyes. Coming from the ghost sword domain, he was as silent as always, exuding a mysterious aura. Why did you see the hidden danger in the crystal bee from the beginning? How many secrets do you still have? Is the 100 Ghosts sword really that powerful? More and more questions filled the princess of the great Xia's mind. Having narrowly escaped death, she now realized how little she knew about the mysterious ghost sword domain swordsman. Curiosity, an unstoppable curiosity. Could it be true that black hair brings good luck? Bang, bang, bang. By the never-ending bonfire, the girl's heartbeat began to quicken. Bang, bang, bang. In the battlefield filled with countless crystal bees, the sound of the girl's heartbeat echoed throughout. It was the call of war. It was an endless assault. It was a war that transcended all obstacles and showcased itself in the purest form. Moving forward, never stopping. Slaughter, Even if it means rivers of blood and bodies piled high, one must forge ahead. The sword in her hand, as if possessed by a life of its own, was light and deadly. No one could have imagined that this once ordinary iron sword, seen everywhere, could be like this. Because of the girl's choice, the ordinary sword transformed and became a proof of heroism. On this chaotic battlefield, the girl shines brighter and inspires everyone more than anyone else. The vice captain is so cool. No wonder she is the strongest hope of our commoner faction, the ruler of the battlefield. She doesn't need anyone's help, she can do whatever she wants. In the stronghold of the Starwings Knights, more than half of the people's eyes are fixed on the lone figure who charges into the center of the Crystal Bee army with unstoppable momentum. The vice-captain of the Starwings Knights, Little Grass. This is the first time the commoner girls of the Starwings Knights have seen their vice-captain in action on the battlefield. Powerful and dangerous. Beautiful and deadly. Although her moves may seem ordinary, each one tears through the enemy's defense. Those third-tier crystal bees are no match for her, just like regular bees. And, the more she kills, the faster and stronger her attacks become. Born for slaughter, a hero born from the sword of mortals, a legend who marches over countless corpses. Facing the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure, Little Grass showed an adaptability beyond imagination. For her, facing enemies who are 100 or 1,000 times stronger actually awakened a dormant talent. You can't learn from her, you know. Without her talent, most people who charge into enemy territory alone on the battlefield are just asking for death, warned Who Are You, the leader of the Starwings Knights, to her team members. That talent, the elegance of beheading enemies as if they were nothing, even amidst thousands of troops, is the true star of destruction, an unparalleled general that any army dreams of. No matter how strong the defenses, they cannot stop her, as she breaks through all obstacles with absolute strength, turning strategies and tactics into mere jokes. This is the talent possessed by Little Grass. Once such a destiny appears, it can even change the fate of an entire historical era and cause the collapse of a 1,000-year-old dynasty. This is the power of heaven's will, rising from the ordinary grassroots, a genius who disregards the royal family and nobility, appearing only once in hundreds of years. When it is revealed, it will surely shock the world, leaving behind a monumental legend. Who Are You, a mere mortal, never expected to awaken this legendary gift. She truly is the child of destiny. It's okay, even if it is bestowed by heaven's will, I am a knight of the plum. Who Are You smiled and raised her platinum cross sword. She also possesses a talent that rivals this, the talent of the sacred platinum rose. Chapter 945. Girls on the battlefield. The talent of the Little Grass does not require any assistance. She alone charges into the enemy's territory, using the relentless power of breaking the army to mercilessly slaughter the enemy's front line. Like a god of war on the battlefield, causing countless people to fear, flee, and lose their morale in the face of the bath of blood. Who Are You, on the other hand, is completely different. Her ability is to strengthen the army itself. If the small grass is an endless slaughter god on the battlefield, then Who Are You is the queen who commands the army. The bloodline of the Platinum Rose gives Who Are You a super high charm and innate leadership ability. She is the golden rose blooming on the battlefield, the core of the Starwings Knights. Grant me, the one I protect, the sacred shield. Who Are You raised her platinum cross sword, and golden light poured onto the Starwings Knights, blessing everyone with a sacred shield that greatly enhances their defense. Afterwards, the entire Starwings Knights launched a well-organized attack, following the path cleared by the small grass, annihilating large numbers of crystal bees. No one could ever imagine that this group of girls, who were just ordinary girl swordsmen a few months ago, could now be called an elite knight squad even in the god's domain of knights. They are a new team consisting of commoner girl swordsmen and a few noble ladies. With the courage of a Little Grass and the leadership of Who Are You, the Starwings Knights shine brilliantly on the battlefield of the White Lotus secret treasure trial. In the current Starwings Knights team, there are no members below the 3rd rank. Under the Knight secret technique guided by Who Are You, they can all share and withstand damage together, truly becoming an extraordinary knight squad. The newly joined Knights and Magic team also compensates for the original weaknesses of the Knight squad. Eat my magic missile storm. Rose, a little witch whose interest and hobby are magic missiles, and who excels in magic missiles, releases a colorful barrage of magic missiles with the protection of her 3 companions. In the land of the Great Shia, the Starwings Knights, led by Hua Yu, fought against the Crystal Bees using powerful magic missiles. These missiles were like colorful rainbows, hitting and knocking down the bees one by one from the sky. The Starwings Knights, equipped with the Knight Secret Technique Sacred Shield, advanced steadily. Hua Yu, with her sword, skillfully killed the flying crystal bees, deflecting their stingers with ease. Even if some stingers got past her, they couldn't break through the Knights' platinum shields. Although the speed of their killings couldn't match that of the Prince and Princess of the Great Shia, the formation of the Starwings Knights remained perfect throughout. Their killing speed was stable. This was a knight formation similar to a war formation, where close combat swordsmen protected the long-range attackers. If someone grew tired, they would be immediately replaced. In the ever-changing battlefield, maintaining this formation and being able to switch at any moment required a high level of cooperation and understanding. Even among the renowned knights of God's domain, the knights who can freely use this strategy are the elite of the elites. They all belong to ancient knight orders with a long history. Perhaps compared to those knight orders with ancient legacies, the Starwings Knights led by Hua Yu may still be considered relatively young, but they have already shown unlimited potential. Their talent is visible to the naked eye. Even though they have only been together for a few months, including newcomers like the Knights and Magic team, the operation of the entire Starwings Knights is incredibly smooth. Each member knows when to attack and when to defend. Everyone has absolute trust in their comrades behind them, willingly exposing their vulnerable backs to them. Whether it's the little grass who charges alone into enemy territory or the healer and support mage, little bunny Lulu, everyone contributes their strength without any waste. 88,000. 90,000. 93,000. By Hua Yu's side, Robin, who had almost become completely invisible on the battlefield, reported the numbers he had observed. When the number reached 99,000, Hua Yu suddenly waved her hand. Swish. The Starwings Knights, acting in unison, stopped their fight and quickly retreated in an orderly manner. The Grassling, who had infiltrated the army of crystal monsters and had already cut down hundreds of them, also withdrew cleanly and efficiently, without any hesitation. Their actions were decisive. As fast as the wind, as patient as the forest, as fierce as fire, as steady as a mountain. Although it was their first large-scale battle in the real world, the tactical prowess displayed by the Starwings Knights was enough to put to shame numerous famous knight orders. The demeanor that only ancient knight orders, with their long lineage and the establishment of their own knightly spirit, could possess. Defend, rest. Hua Yu calmly commanded the Starwings Knights, who had suppressed the killing value to just over 99,000. They began to switch to a defensive stance. This number was predicted by Robin and represents the threshold of death. If the killing surpasses this number in a short period of time, unpredictable disasters can occur. Robin's predictions were almost always accurate, and it was because the Starwings Knights believed in her predictions that they chose to stop before reaching the critical point of killing. This process had been repeated about 7 times, and the Starwings Knights had accumulated over 600,000 in killing value. Unlike other teams who immediately used up their killing value, the Starwings Knights chose to store it and concentrate it on 2 individuals. Leading the army in battle was Hua Yu, the commander of the Starwings Knights. In charge of leading the charge is Lieutenant Xiaokao, the strongest spear of the Starwings Knights. Everyone is pleased with the decision made unanimously by the Starwings Knights. With the enormous killing value they have obtained, both of them have successfully increased their racial talents. Hua Yu possesses the Platinum Rose bloodline, which grants the Starwings Knights more divine shields. Xiao Cao's Sword of Mortals becomes sharper and more powerful. The more monsters Xiao Cao kills, the more noticeable the changes in her become. At the same time, the Starwings Knights, who have experienced the real battlefield, are becoming more and more confident. They are no longer the common girls who were once unsure about joining the Sword Palace a few months ago, nor are they the noble ladies from prominent families participating in exams to gain a higher status. Because of someone, their fates have been completely changed. Chapter 946, Xia Ling's Confusion. Everyone, take a rest. With the kill count around 99,000, following Robin's prophecy, Hua Yu commanded all the members of the Starwings Knights to cease fighting and switch into complete defense mode. The Starwings Knights orderly withdrew from the battlefield and entered their camp. They set down their weapons and some exhausted squads even fell asleep back to back. Thousands of crystal bees attacked, shooting out sharp stingers. Ripples spread across the massive shield surrounding the Starwings Knights camp, resembling raindrops. However, not a single stinger could break through this seemingly transparent silver shield. Thank you, Miu Miu. We will rely on you next. Hua Yu patted Miu Miu's head beside her. This massive shield was not Hua Yu's doing, it was the smallest Miu Miu of the Starwings Knights who had opened the shield. Hua Yu's sacred shield is a protective skill that is cast on all the members of the Starwings Knights. Miu Miu's silver shield, on the other hand, is a huge stationary shield that resembles a war fortress. Thanks to the presence of these two shields, along with Robin's prophecy, the Starwings Knights were able to stand out and achieve great success in the trial of the White Lotus secret treasure. Miu Miu will do her best. Miu Miu, who has always been taken care of by the twin witches and hasn't had many chances to show her true strength, now has a large silver hair accessory on her head that radiates a soft glow. The icy crystal on her chest seems to be melting away, and the restraints that have always been worn on her body also show signs of loosening. Her once timid expression has become radiant and confident as she has become closer to the Starwings Knights. This place is her favorite place. The girls of the Starwings Knights treated her with love and care, and she had long fallen in love with these cheerful and innocent girls. Miu Miu will protect them. Miu Miu is actually very powerful, as both Red Lotus and White Lotus have told her. Did those crystal bees just become stronger? I also feel that the more we kill, the more intelligent these crystal bees become. If they weren't enemies, I would love to keep some as pets. They must be great at making honey. It would be amazing if Mai could use it to make bread. Mai would definitely love these crystal bees. During their break, the Starwings Knights often talked about Mai. After Mai left, everyone missed her black-haired figure even more. What do you think Mai is doing right now? Robin, make a prediction. Yours are always accurate. Yes, please make a prediction. All the girls who were severely affected by the plum poisoning looked at the Starwings Knights' only fortune teller with hopeful eyes. The genius from the Heaven's Path Palace. I advise you not to get your hopes up too much, what that person said. Shrugged Robin. Perhaps a disaster is about to strike. Now a disaster was about to strike. Yunxi looked at Xia Ling, who was wearing his coat, with a headache. He looked at her from left to right, up and down, as if trying to see through her completely. Due to the crystal bee tearing and completely destroying her original spiritual clothes, along with her underwear, Xia Ling was only wearing Yunxi's coat, revealing all her curves. Whether it was the little bumps on her chest or her delicate and cute body, everything was on full display. The problem was, she seemed completely oblivious to the fact that she had been exposing herself since a while ago. Since a little while ago, she had been looking at Yunxi with a stubborn and serious expression. Did you see it? This is not a question, but a statement. Yunxi couldn't say yes or no, instinctively knowing that either answer would be wrong. Sometimes, girls have the privilege of being unreasonable. Staying silent is the best option at times like these. Silence is golden. Yunxi kept a calm and composed expression, observing with his eyes and contemplating with his heart. Are you really a swordsman of the ghost sword domain? I've never heard of that 100 ghost sword. The more Xia Ling looked at Yunxi, the more she doubted. A genius swordsman of such beauty, who could rescue people from the endless storm of bee stings, how could they remain unknown? The ghost sword domain should have long been famous for having such a peerless talent, who wields one of the 100 ghost swords, just like Zi Yuan, one of the candidates for the position of the master of the ghost sword domain in this generation. Yunxi continued to pretend to be ignorant, neither admitting nor denying anything. After all, he had never claimed to be the owner of the 100 ghost sword. It was rather perplexing to him why the prince and princess of the Great Shia had such an assumptive look, mistaking his mist ghost sword for that so-called 100 ghost sword. Actually, it was just a fake god weapon that he had the Mist Spirit Legion create for him to disguise his identity. When did it become a separate entity of the legendary Ghost Sword domain and the Supreme Sky Sword? As for the secrets of the highest level of the Sky Sword God's domain, Yun Shi, who used to be a plain pastry shop owner not long ago, claimed to have no knowledge about them. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Your only purpose for coming here is the White Lotus secret treasure, not to pledge your loyalty to me. Ling figured it out. No matter which true disciple of the Ghost Sword domain Yun Q was, she truly saved him, and her performance in battle side by side with him was satisfactory to her. With a temporary formed team, it's best not to expect too much. But when he saved her from the brink of life and held her in his arms, breaking free from the surrounding army of crystal bees amidst a sea of red and blue lights, she felt a string in her heart being plucked. That black hair became a symbol of luck in her memory. Sometimes, the many coincidences make you have to believe certain things. Lucky black hair. Ling remembered the revelation she received in the heart-asking cabin. At that time, she was determined to challenge Hua Hua and thought it was just an unreliable rumor. Perhaps, sometimes, it's okay to believe in miracles. Let me lean on you for a bit. Closing her eyes, Ling willingly leaned against the back of Yun Shi, letting down her guard completely and falling into a deep sleep under the effects of the return to heaven pill. When she woke up, the battle had to continue. But for now, let's take a short rest. Yun Q's hair smells really nice, with a hint of a hazy mist. Like mist, like clouds, ethereal and unpredictable, it was clearly in front of them, yet as mysterious as the clouds on the horizon. Who are you, really? The bonfire burned quietly, casting their shadows like a beautiful painting. Chapter 947. Xia Jie's determination. On the other hand, the great Xia prince, Xia Jie, who was rescued by his own 12 black cavalry, had also regained consciousness in the great Xia camp. Ouch! It hurts. It hurts. There was no part of his body that was intact. Perhaps it was because his killing value was much higher than his little sister's, and he had gone on a rampage together with the 12 black cavalry, resulting in Xia Jie taking over half of the leader Bee's anger. Even the black flame dragon armor couldn't withstand the frenzy of Bee stings. In comparison, the 12 black cavalry, who were only wearing the black sword armor set, had all been riddled with holes, yet they still faithfully protected Xia Jie and helped him escape from the battlefield, demonstrating their absolute strength surpassing that of the great Xia Imperial Guards. However, it was easy for the black cavalry to kill, but rescuing someone was another story. In the end, the healers from the great Xia kingdom were extremely surprised and rushed to save Xia Jie. With the help of magical potions from the Heaven's Path Palace, they managed to bring Xia Jie back from the brink of death. Wow! Are those little bees going crazy? Xia Jie, lying motionless, looked at his heavily wounded body with a frustrated expression. It was really close. The mighty crown prince of the great Xia almost died at the hands of those little bees. It would be quite embarrassing if word got out, just like a powerful general being defeated by a lowly soldier. You guys. Remember to protect me with all your might next time, and kill fewer enemies. You should shield me from bullets more often. Reflecting on his achievements on the battlefield, Xia Jie realized that the black cavalry was extremely useful and had potential for further development. The silent black cavalry didn't respond at all. And rightfully so, as they were not human anymore, but rather secret treasures created through extremely cruel methods. The prince and princess of the great Xia were attacked by a storm of bee stings that put them on the brink of death. Even though the black cavalry, who were normally weaker than the two of them, it was impossible for them to survive. As long as they were human, they had no way of escaping the relentless stings of the crystal bees. Their hearts, necks, and even heads were subjected to lethal injuries over dozens of times in order to save Xia Jie. Any other human would have died long ago, but the black cavalry did not have the means of self-preservation that the prince and princess had. That's why Yun Shi always felt that these black cavalry had a trace of the underworld about them. They were actually already dead. In order to be loyal to the great Xia and protect their homeland, These elite soldiers from the Great Xia dynasty, many of whom became generals, willingly sacrificed their bodies. In the end, they became the secret treasures they are now. This forbidden technique that transcends life and death comes from the true legacy of the Heaven's Path Palace. In the process of transformation, they were still alive and had to endure the brutal torture, which felt like hell, with their own will. Only after surviving all the refining procedures could they put on the black sword armor, representing the curse, and become fearless Black Knights. Death was not the end for them, but the beginning. The resources consumed by each black cavalry were astronomical, and so far, the number of completed ones produced did not exceed 3 digits. They were considered one of the national treasures of the Great Xia dynasty. Because they were not living beings, they could be regarded as treasures. Even without the mark of the White Lotus secret treasure, they could be brought into the trial by Xia Jie and become his ace. Compared to the princess of the Great Xia, Xia Ling, Xia Jie obviously had more resources, thanks to his inherent gender advantage. No matter how outstanding a princess is, unless she enters the legend rank and inherits the position of the Sky Sword, she still has to marry. And the crown prince is going to inherit the throne of the Great Xia and become the prince who will eventually reign over the world. He carries the blood of a true dragon. Facing a life-or-death crisis, the 12 Black Cavalry were given the order to protect Xia Jie at all costs. As for Princess Xia Ling, she was abandoned. No, this can't go on. We can't be stopped by those annoying bees. After thinking it over, Xia Jie finally decided to use his own trump card. The strength of the 12 Black Cavalry was far greater than it appeared. Back at the Great Xia's camp, Yunshi even felt a genuine threat emanating from these silent Black Knights. It was a pressure that not even Xia Jie, who unleashed his dragon soul, had. It was a power belonging to a non-human realm. You all, start unsealing. Struggling to stand up, Xia Jie began reaching out his hand to manually modify the runes on the black sword armor of the 12 Black Cavalry. Representing the highest level of craftsmanship from the Heaven's Path Palace, the Great Xia has only produced less than 3-digit war tools in its thousands of years of history. The Black Cavalry holds many forbidden techniques hidden within. Just in the process of creation, numerous elites from the Great Xia army have lost their lives. Although these elites willingly accepted the transformation and most of them were orphans, the rate of loss is still too high for the entire Sky Sword God's domain, especially the Great Xia, to afford. The runes inscribed on the Black Cavalry, the black sword armor, are mostly used to enhance the power of these Black Cavalry. However, there are several hidden runes that are used to restrain some of their instincts. Their essence is that of dead people, living beings crafted into precious weapons. The real beings from the Heaven's Path Palace who created these weapons have embedded earth-shattering means within the bodies of these war tools, allowing them to unleash terrifying power. However, using these methods comes at a cost. This cost is not only borne by the Black Cavalry but also by those who command and control them. The principle of equivalent exchange is still one of the highest truths in the endless God's domains. From today onwards, you will become my clones, Xia Jie said seriously, biting his finger and adding his own blood to the runes of the Black Cavalry. 12 Black Cavalry is the maximum he can handle. Gaining the true power of the 12 Black Cavalry also means he must bear an equal curse. Give me your power. Give me everything you have. I will win. For my sister. Xia Jie's shouts echoed in the sky. It was the oath of the Great Xia Prince, the will of a tyrant. The previously silent Black Cavalry soldiers started to sparkle with red light in their eyes, as the energy surged back into their depleted bodies after receiving Xia Jie's blood. Half of the 12 Black Cavalry soldiers kneeled beside Xia Jie, their once lifeless demeanor now renewed. The dormant spirit of the Great Xia army, sealed within the body by the secret techniques of the Heaven's Path Palace, awakened at this moment. From this moment on, Xia Jie gained the power equivalent to 12 hero-ranked knights. They were the shields that protected the Great Xia dynasty, the Black Knights born to face any obstacles in the way of the Great Xia dynasty. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.